You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent and Austen Show.
There you go. You got it. We got more culprits. I didn't know you'd be able to get this fast, so I could just send it to you. You're quick, Hamby. I appreciate that. Maybe that's why we're a little bit late into the show today, but it's worth it. I mean, what the hell? There's one spot left. Like, I don't have time. I just came from a meeting. So, look, I tried to steal the visiting parking spot, and I get yelled at from everybody here for doing it. And then this. I mean, what the hell are we doing here at Action News Jax? Can we get this fixed? Go back to the other one, Hamby. See, that's the one where the bushes are close by. So they don't want to rub up against the bushes and hurt the car. I mean, you're either in or you're out. Either go park somewhere else and walk to the office, or you get right up against the bushes. Snuggle up. This is ridiculous.
I love this one.
I mean, what is this? This is probably like somebody spending $1 million with us today in sales, so I better be careful.
All right, we'll go back to this.
I mean, how am I supposed to fit my Nimnik Buick GMC Sierra 1500 into that? It's not even like dual Denali, big.
Unreal.
Unbelievable.
Professional grade.
GMC, we are professional grade. I'm just going to take off mirrors soon.
Uh-oh.
Who's responsible? Who's responsible if I hit the mirror? Like, hey, I'm just telling you, by the way, all right? Listen, Hamby's burner, don't get mad at me. I was in Indianapolis yesterday. I've been at a sales meeting down the road just for the last hour. I can't get here early. Holy cow, those graphics look so good. Is that Danielle jumping in the show? Yeah, those graphics do look good. Is that Danielle back in graphics? Tuned into the show? Hello, Danielle. She does a great job. But anyway, I just want to let you know that I'm like nicer guy than maybe y'all think. Because I could have got in that spot. I was on my way in that spot. Mm-hmm. And I was like, they are never getting in their car. Like, you couldn't do it. Like, they would not be able to get in their car. And so I was like, all right, fine. I won't go.
So where'd you go? Was there a spot?
In another visiting parking spot. By the way, we have several visitors on the show today. So, like, I mean, I could have gone all the way around, but then I was going to be late. Like, I figured I had to get in here. So I could move it. But yeah, no kidding, Tommy. Yeah, the spaces need to be wider. But you know what? We got to work with what we got. All right, that's what we do in our business. We work with what we've got. We could use like 5 more people here on this network. But we work with what we've got. Park in the damn lines. It wasn't even a big car. Unbelievable.
I've never seen that emoji in my life.
Oh, it's Tommy. I park on the radio side. Yeah. The radio side has plenty of parking over there.
It's just a mile away.
But it's not that far away. Like, I don't mind coming in that side of the building. I really don't. Like, it's crazy. I'm used to this now. So today's Wednesday, right? Today's Wednesday. So now when I get in here, I drive Monday, Friday, no problem. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like the salespeople a lot of folks work from home Monday through Friday. I think that's part of their deal. And so Tuesdays, though, like, I just go right to the radio side because Tuesdays, the lot's full. Because everybody must come in for like a sales meeting on Tuesday morning. Wednesdays, right? Got to figure it out. I don't know why you guys aren't siding with me here. Like, there are some things that you guys should not side with me on. Listen, did I read into the Todd Bowles thing a little bit too much yesterday on the tweet? Yeah, admittedly so. I probably did. It was just my initial reaction, the way that he said it and looked. But aren't we like in this together every day for 3 hours? And you're telling me we got to be adaptable, Ryan? No, it's time to hammer that black car. This isn't my fault. That is that black car's fault.
So are we finally going to pull the trigger on what we've been talking about doing for forever and put a camera going out the window right up there so we could see who the culprit is.
We're going to start doing it. I always feel bad because, like, I don't know if I'm sure the person is the nicest person in the world. I don't even know whose car it is. Now, if I knew whose car it is, it'd be over, right? Like, if it was Liv again, because Liv's guilty of this one time, I mean, she'd be crying at home watching the show right now. But I don't know who that is. Probably a really nice person that works here. I don't want to lay into him like that, so I'm just laying into the car. Mm-hmm. If it's your car, you know. If you're watching this show, it's on you. So anyway, let's get back to some football. That's how we start our day. Night. Beautiful day in Jacksonville, by the way. It was a nice day in Indianapolis too. Oh, one more thing, to go back to yesterday. Just a shout out to the Indianapolis airport too.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how we made it. You know what I appreciate about Weber is he didn't like freak out. Like if I was with my wife, oh my gosh, she'd be like, oh my God, we're going to miss the plane. We missed the plane. It's like all this stuff. Like our bags aren't going to make it. And Weber and I are just like going with the flow. It is what it is.
That's not normal for Weber in all circumstances.
Well, he travels a lot. So I think he gets it. He doesn't panic in the travel stuff. So I think
he'd calculated the exact time that y'all needed to be.
No, I don't think so. Like this was, I guess I knew we were going to be done with the show at 1. I knew we'd be done with most of our Jag stuff around 1. I knew we still had to tape some things and everything else, but figured if we leave at 2:45 for a 4:15 flight, that was the way the whole thing worked. And it was like the last flight out on Southwest. So it's like, okay, we can make that work. But then, like Weber's editing. I went up to kind of grab him food and me food, and we're left with like a quinoa wrap or something like that.
Oh, no.
Is that how you say that?
Quinoa? Quinoa?
Yeah, vegetable quinoa wrap. Like, what the hell is that?
Find me a vending machine.
What is that? But anyway, but then I got talking to Duraco up there, and before I knew it, it's like 2:45. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to like make us late. Well, then Weber was still editing too, so he was sending something back to the station. And so, I mean, listen, nobody's fault here. We were just like, before you know it, it's like 3 o'clock, and I'm doing the math. Like, shoot, it's going to take us like 15 minutes to get to the airport. A lot of airlines don't let you put your bags in within an hour.
Right.
Now, Southwest has always been like a 45-minute deal. I didn't know if that had changed, but they had been. And so, I mean, we are literally waiting for an Uber at 3:07 outside the convention center. And then the funny thing is, like, I can see Weber doing the same. He's thinking the same thing. This guy is just like driving.
Oh,
it's just driving. And even when he parked in the airport, it's like, it's like, I mean, let's go. We gotta go. We gotta get out. Like we have our hand on the door to get out. And so, you know, the little do they call them skycap? The skycap stuff, like outside the airport, you know how you can sometimes check in outside the airport? I feel like it's called Skycap for some reason. And so now Indianapolis airport, not busy. But I'm like, maybe I should go to the Skycap guy because you can tip him. Will you make sure? So I asked the guy, like nobody's there. I couldn't believe they even have a Skycap guy out there. Nobody's there. So I'm like, hey, we got any chance you can get us on? We got a 4:15 flight. He's like, well, what time is it? I was like, 3:28. He's like, oh, yeah, no problem. So, like, I gave him like $20. He got our stuff on. We boom, boom, boom. We're in. We're like literally on the plane at 4 o'clock.
Wow.
3:07 at the convention center. Bags checked, 3 of them. Through security. I even had time to get a coffee, and we actually went and got sandwiches.
A real sandwich.
A real sandwich to take. Yeah, a real one. $22, by the way, for a pastrami sandwich.
You got rinsed.
At the airport.
Rinsed.
Yeah, I didn't get rinsed. These guys got rinsed. And we're on the plane. I mean, this is unbelievable. Like, see, I think in life you can complain about so many things. You've got to acknowledge when it's good, people.
Yeah.
I mean, we made that work because I'm starting to think, I was like, I had already done, is there another flight out of here? And there wasn't. So I'm like, all right, will they let us travel without our bags? Like, what are we doing here? Are we stuck for the night? Do we have to go like book another plane? And then this place wouldn't like that, right? If we had to go book another flight from Delta or something like that. And we made it. It was unbelievable. And I'll give you one more thing from the flight. Most flights now travel enough, and if you travel enough, you know this. Like most flights are booked, right?
Yeah.
I mean, pretty full. Like they almost don't even make them. They're like, no, pilots can't make it today. They've been working too much. If it's not full,
right?
Like they ain't sending that bird out there if it's not a full flight. We had I could have laid across the whole row.
Seriously,
it was amazing. So. Great flying experience.
Not a baby.
I mean, we were literally there, as Weber said, on Monday when we were packing up in the sports office before we left. We had to check in for our flight home. Man. I love it, though. It's great stuff. That was fun. That was a good trip out there. Got a lot of good stuff.
People can't believe you're already back.
I know. Delphonic can't believe it. Delphonic, thanks for the shout-out. Good coverage yesterday. Listen, I'm still trying to digest yesterday. Yesterday's crazy. And so I owe you an apology for two things, in my opinion. Three things. One, I'm not really sure how good the show was yesterday.
It was smooth.
Even the first part. I'm getting kicked out of the spot that we're in at the same time we start the show.
That was
awesome.
awesome.
If you go see the guy behind me,
he
wants to club me over the head because we stole his table, right? So I'm like, so all that's going through my head as we're trying to figure out how the hell are we doing all this stuff today.
Hold on. If you ever want to know why we take an early break, it's because there's a reason. You say, hey, we're going to take an early break. It's 10:16. And I'm like, oh, yeah. He's worried this guy back here is about to throw a temper tantrum.
Yeah, because I did not know how that. And I think I told a little bit of the story, but I didn't want to say it too loud. I didn't know those guys. And then there were some guys from the Jets just later on. They had a dolly in the way, and I needed a little bit more space to get depth for the Coen interview live, right? And again, we don't have a cast of 1,000 people. That's why you see me changing the camera in the middle of this thing. But so I move it's behind a screen. It's not in their shot or anything, but I move it sideways, 3 feet. 3 minutes later, the guy comes back. He's like, oh, we need it over here like this. I'm like, I wanted to get into it with the New York guy. He's a big dude, though. But I also was like, are you serious? What is this doing? This did not impact anything.
It's New York.
So there was a little bit of that. But, so I apologize for the little clunky nature early on in the show. I have no idea if the show even sounded halfway decent, really for the most part, because I didn't even check about these knuckleheads who filled it in from 11 to whatever with Casey Kurtz, so we appreciate it. So there's that going on. Mm-hmm. I honestly, by the time we got to questioning with Coen, and especially Gladstone, I'm like, what hasn't this guy answered in the last 25 hours? And I'm trying to think of, it's just one of those deals where you're like, man, I thought they were going to, I thought I'd have this to ask, but then our local media scrum kind of covered it, and I had to pivot, and I was just like, I usually pride myself on, hey, listen, I like doing interviews. You're not going to always ask the greatest questions, but you always want to feel like, hey, this is a good time to try to get into something a little bit different or whatever else. Or it's a little challenging yesterday. But I also didn't want it to be the same stuff we heard on the podium, the stage, the everything. You and everybody else probably, because they were on, CBS and probably Sirius and all this stuff. Another station in town. Exclusive, by the way. I mean, what the hell are we putting exclusive for? Listen, I know you got a bunch of kids over at the other station running some stuff. It's not exclusive. Golly. All right, sorry.
All right, apology number 3.
What was my third one?
I don't know.
I don't know. But I don't know what it was. It was my interviewing. It was the clunky nature of the show. And it was, I don't know if we said anything in the first hour. I think those are the 3 things. I'm not even sure. That's right. Delphonic, you're right. Nobody had it live like we did. That was exclusive. Good point. We had it exclusive. Exclusive. Oh, my gosh.
Everything's
How can you even write that? How can you type that? Listen, we do some stupid things in our business. Can't say we haven't. Listen, my Todd Bowles thing might have been kind of dumb. That was a dumb take. probably. And I kind of knew it. I said, I think I'm reading into it. But but how did we get to exclusive? like, come on. It does like I'm just laughing at it more than anything else. Because you typed it in. Like once and if you didn't know, once you saw it live on another place, did it hit you that it wasn't exclusive? All right. What the hell? What a day today already.
And now it's time for an early break.
No way. I'm cruising right now, man. I'm rocking and rolling. I feel good. All right. Hey, I do have, I am honestly still trying to digest a lot of yesterday because I couldn't keep up with it. Like I saw some stuff pop up on my Twitter feed and then all of a sudden it was gone. Like I couldn't find it. I was like, shoot. I was going to go back to it and I couldn't find it. Like I don't, from the Duval stuff with Coen to,
oh my gosh.
Just everybody. What you knew the national guys were going to go there. I thought that they had a pretty good one with, who was that, Pro Football Talk. That was a fun exchange.
Yeah.
I didn't see some of the other ones. I'm sure it was pretty good. What I guess I'm trying to get into, and I know you guys,
about it.
Our listeners and viewers do a great job of this. Like, you consume this stuff, and God bless you how much you consume it. But did you hear anything that you hadn't heard? Like, was there something that, like, I mean, seriously, we had James Gladstone on our channels 5 different times in the last, in a day, in a 26-hour period, I think it was. Did you hear anything like that from other places that I didn't even catch yet that like really, I think a lot of it blended together.
Yeah.
He was pretty calculated on a lot of things. Obviously, we discussed a lot of these things yesterday, like Trevor. I thought the Brenton Strange stuff was kind of fascinating. I thought the defensive stuff was fascinating, that he actually took like a little bit of a shot, right? I thought when I asked him actually in the scrum part, the local media scrum, we call it, the last question there that we talked about yesterday about, hey, if you just rolled this team right back out, could you do better with it? Is essentially what I asked him and Coen. And the answer was pretty much yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Some of the stuff with Coen about the what do you call it? The 21 pony personnel or something.
2 backs.
And so then the Kirk stuff, you know, that obviously is a talker and they acknowledge it. Not going to give you too much, but they acknowledge it. The dish, protect the dish.
Protect the dish, baby.
You know, really a lot of stuff. But I think I heard all that stuff. I don't think there was a lot beyond that. What you didn't hear in the news conference on Monday compared to on the podium to everything else. I think it got covered. Here's my point. I think it got covered. But I come away thinking this, and I just told you this right before the show. And we're going to hear a little bit more sound that we didn't get to yesterday. But I don't recall, been doing this quite a bit now. We've gone through a lot of changes in Jacksonville. I don't recall somebody coming in here, whether it's just an OCDC hire or maybe even a positional coach hire, but specifically a head coach. And really, on top of that, a GM. And obviously, they've been in the same system with the Rams, in the same organization. But wow, have I never really experienced 2 people that are so willing to say, we're going to do it that way. Mm-hmm. I wonder that when Matt Patricia got the job in Detroit or Josh McDaniels got the jobs that he got, did he say, we're going to do it the way we did it in New England? To the degree that these guys are saying, we're going to do it the way the Rams have done it. And use the buzzwords. I saw the McVay interview. I mean, it is like listening to the same thing.
He's a clone.
I mean, it's amazing. But isn't that, you talk about elite communication.
Right.
And that's what these guys both say about each other, which also is going to be another talking point I find fascinating. But the message is simple. Well, I shouldn't say the message is simple. The message is clear, right? The talking points are clear. We are going to know the talking points if we don't already. How many have you made the list of the buzzwords, right? The buzz things that both these guys are saying?
Tangibly rich, Brent.
Yes, you have is the point. Put it on another hat.
We need a hat. Intangibly rich, elevate the ecosystem.
Listen, I reached out to Dome Hats. I'm waiting for Whitaker to get back to me, be like, hey, I think we got something here.
Connective tissue was one I never heard.
Connective tissue was a lot.
Connective tissue was a nice play.
So I guess that's where I go, Hamby, before we get into some of those other things that
right.
I don't don't really remember.
They're unapologetically going to be like the Rams.
Like we joked Rams East, right? Or Rams Southeast, or people will say that. No, like this is real. And they're okay by saying that.
Yeah. From
Snead to McVay to everything in that operation. Now, will you eventually put your own twist on it? I would say, yeah. But, I mean, I that jumps out at me that they've been doing that. So that's pretty cool. All right? I think it's pretty cool. But I think it's cool that they're not trying to hide it. You know, I do think that's where like that humility word shows up. It's like, no, we're going to, yeah, that's fine. Like we didn't reinvent this.
Right.
They did. They invented it. And it works. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do it. And by the way, the NFL has long been known as a copycat league. I always like to say all good ideas were stolen.
Right.
Right? I mean, and I don't think I came up with that, by the way, so I stole that. But is that striking to you at all? It's striking to me that these guys are just, hey, yeah, we'll give credit to them. And I think somebody said this on social media, and apologies, I'm not sure who. But I thought it was an interesting comment that I came across in the last couple of days. Les Snead might really think these guys are so good, especially Gladstone, and he's like, get them out of the NFC.
Right.
Really push them toward the AFC.
I saw that.
Right? As like, get them out of the NFC. These guys have a chance, especially Gladstone, right? Didn't have control over Coen at the time. But it's like, that's an interesting concept. If you're going to take our model, right, take it to the AFC, not in the NFC. Now, listen, Holmes comes from that model. I'm sure he's taken some of that up to Detroit as well, right?
Right. He saw that he lost Holmes to the NFC, and he was like, I'm not going to let this happen again. So first, as soon as I think Gladstone's ready for a gig, I'm going to push it so he goes to somewhere in the AFC. This goes back to when Gladstone was talking about, the last month or two, and he was like, yeah, I was content in LA. Like, I was content to keep going.
Yeah.
And then it was like Les Snead that told me, you need to go do this. You need to go pursue this. And I don't have the exact quote, but he was like, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have gone and pursued it if Les Snead didn't tell me to go pursue it, which tells you a lot about who he is. I mean, that tells you a lot, but this wasn't Gladstone up ripping and roaring, going to move up the chain again. Like, he was set. And what does that tell you about the confidence that Les Snead had in him, that that he put his stamp of approval that much behind him to go and tell him to do it? And I think that almost does kind of push that narrative of kind of trying to get him out of the NFC, because Les Snead knows it's only a matter of time before he gets a GM job somewhere. So I might as well control where he goes as much as possible.
Yeah, and YB400, I think, is the one that said, thank you, Brent. I like to just get that part in. But he said this staff talks it straight, simple, right? And we're going to get to the other part of elite communication and things, but that's part of it, right? I mean, communication is hard. It's really hard, especially when you get a lot of people on the same page. But these guys look like they're pretty good. The messaging is there. And I do think it could sometimes make, and this is probably why going back to the interview sessions, you're trying to look for something else because you don't want to fall in the trap of kind of what they're going to say, right? Because they are going to hit those buzz phrases. And so if you can avoid those in an interview, you're like, okay, how do we get around that? I know what you're going to answer here. So there's a little bit of that, but that's okay. Like, that's okay. I think I don't think that's a problem. I'm not being critical. I'm just saying that's how good they are at hitting the points. I mean, there are things that they want to hit, and they hit them. It is a little programmed, which actually, looking back on our Gladstone interview, I kind of enjoyed that part of it with him, because it did feel we went a little bit outside the box. Yeah. So it was a little less like that, right? He was a little less, didn't feel guarded. And he actually delivered what I thought was maybe the most powerful thing he said in the last 26 hours of interviews, was that we are going to be perennially dominant.
Yeah, that was a lot.
That was a declaration.
Yeah,
that was a declaration. Hey, Killer Tofu and Logan Rivers, I think, talking about Austen. Yeah, I think Logan hit it here. Austin's good. It's fight week for him, so he's probably busy UFC-wise, and that's the best way to say it. Listen, when we get to these fight weeks with Austen, he's out in Vegas, from sleep to some commitments that he has, to other things. Weigh in eventually Friday. What we really do want to do is clear his plate as much as possible. And so I encourage him because he really wants to come on and he wants to fulfill his commitment here, especially with everything going on. But I'm like, dude, you got to do what's good for you to get in the right space for Saturday night. So
if he's talking about parking spaces for 20 minutes, he's got to be locked in on his opponent.
That's true. So he might still jump in here or there, but a lot of that's because of the week out there. And, of course, the time change kind of changes everything as well. But thanks for asking. Big fight coming up on Saturday, of course, out in Las Vegas for Austen Lane. All right, so that's my quick hitter thing that I didn't think about until last night into today was, man, these guys are unapologetic about being the Rams and bringing it here. And while that will not be an exact blueprint, you can't do everything the same. You have different people,
personalities,
skill sets. It's going to look a lot like it. And you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's really okay. Like, that's fine. I think people do it anyway across the league, from schemes to plays to structure. But I just don't really remember, and I hope I'm not living in a recency bias, I don't remember a group coming in here and being like, yeah, we're going to do it the way we did it here. Like, even, let's think about Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin comes in 2017. I don't remember him saying, we're going to do it like it's 1998, or we're going to do it like it's 2012 when the Giants won the Super Bowl. Right. He easily could have said that. Now, with Coughlin, it's a little implied that things are going to be a lot like they were then anyway. It's not changing. But my point is, it wasn't like I learned this in New York and we're going to take this from New York and do it this way because it worked. We got 2 Lombardis. You didn't hear him say that. Maybe more people say stuff like that behind closed doors, but they don't usually say it in front of a microphone. These 2 cats are saying it loud and clear. Like, that works. We know it works. We feel like we're on the forefront of it, just like they are. It's coming to Jacksonville, and it's going to work. Pretty cool, I think, that they're willing to admit that, say that, and let's see now if they can do it. Let's take a time out. Brent and Austin Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. I do feel like it's pretty wild that these guys say almost the same thing about each other when asked about each other. Yet it comes with a little bit of a red flag for me as well. And I've discussed this a little bit in the past, and not a lot of it. But I'm going to give you the reason why there's a small red flag with that for me, even though I think there's probably more things that make it really good and will work out here in Jacksonville. That's coming up next here on the Brent and Austin Show. Busy day, by the way, on this Wednesday. It's our favorite day on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. We've got a bunch of new content, including no gate fees. And we'll celebrate the high school baseball and softball season coming up at 2 o'clock. But Cup Date, new edition. A Week with Us, new edition. After the Game, new edition with Mike Boswell as well, and then Young and Norvell. So we've got new stuff from 6 a.m. all the way to 6 p.m., and then the Scrap House tonight as well, which I have to check if that's on, with Casey and Austin. And we'll have a full lineup. Right at actionsportsjacks.com, the place to go. Oh, look at this. We got a live look over at the Igloo and the Jacksonville Icemen. Getting ready for some action. You can watch the Icemen on My TV Jacks Saturday night. Marcel Robinson giving us a live peek. We are all over the place with Action Sports Jacks. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Wednesday. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. The most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade. I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can save $500 on a Connecticut Premier Softener and get a free Connect Salt Monitor with purchase. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
The rhythm of my heart is beating like a drum, with we are murder rolling off our tongues. Never will we roam, for we know our place is home. Where the ocean meets the skies, we be sailing. Where the ocean meets the skies, we be sailing.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Oh, they had a little court storming up there in Georgia.
We do it the right way.
Look at Kirby Smart at the end of this. He's even saying, oh, those guys got kicked out.
Well, yes, they did.
And then look at Kirby. Like, hey.
Watch the hand right here. Dollars.
Yeah. By the way, Kirby, you could pay that.
Yes, you could.
Really nice win for Georgia.
Oh, man, we needed it. I thought we were going to blow it.
Well, you did.
Oh.
And then you get, it's actually like, I actually think that's really impressive from teams. I've seen UNF do this quite a bit because they get out these big leads and then you blow them, or and then here against Stetson, like they did blow it, but then won.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, that's pretty good. That shows some pretty good moxie there, right? I think Georgia showed that. They blew the lead. I mean, they were up by like 26 at one time, and they they were down in the final minute of the game, and then they pulled back away. So I think that's pretty good.
From the 6-minute mark, I think, to the minute and a half, I think it was a 13-0 run, and we didn't score. And then Blue Cane hit that fadeaway almost.
Yeah.
Three-pointer.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. I thought that was a good win for them. Don't want to get too hyped. Next thing you know, our first drive is a 3-and-out. I like that. Yeah. If I thought, it's over.
Yep.
First drive in September. It's over. Did we all hear what they were chanting to Golden? Honestly,
Yes.
I did not. I'm sure Hamby did, but I wasn't really watching.
You can guess.
Yeah, I can only guess. College heckling is ruthless. Ruthless.
Brent,
And it has been for you. That's not a new thing. Like, I remember my high school coach, or it was my middle school coach. He played at the University of Rhode Island baseball, and he said some of the heckling that they had, like when they would go on the road, was just off the charts good. And he would give us some examples, stuff I don't remember, but I just always remember him saying that, and that was in Rhode Island. I remember taking Ty to a Florida State playoff game in Gainesville. I think it was his first game watching the Gators play, and we sat in left field with the students. Ty was like 7. It's like Ty learned some new vocabulary that day, man. And I actually asked him about it the other day. He's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that." So
we might have to save this for no gate fees at 2:00. But heckling in high school, Brent, I need your thoughts on adults.
Nah, yeah, it's too much.
Okay, good. Because I got after one on Monday night.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, the parent. Yeah, you can't be heckling. We've had that actually. I remember Kaylee. There was one instance, like she was like, she was. I want to say, I'm trying to remember. I actually wasn't at the game, so it was like one of these deals where I was on Indianapolis or something, but I was watching it like on Game Changer, and I didn't know, like I missed some of the game, but she like had a strikeout or something, and she came off the mound. She was just like, it's kind of cool, like because she was just fired up, right? And I was like, well, what was all that about? And so later on, I got the story, but there was like a mom on the other side that was saying stuff. And I was like, that's good. Like I actually think they moved the mom out of the game, but I just loved it. Kaylee, by the way, Kaylee is really strange with Kaylee. Is she could tell you like who's in the stands and everything. Like she really can. She'd tell you what color they're wearing. I'm like, why do you know that? Like it bothered me. It's like, you should not know that. You should be like locked in. And so she was aware of stuff. But it was kind of a good moment for her to be able to handle all that, right? And figure it out. But I remember her so fired up coming off the mound. It's like one of my favorite pieces of video that we have of Kaylee, because she's just like, because Kaylee got a little of that in her too. She wants to give it back, which I like. But yeah, you can't be parent. You can't do that as a parent. Not only on you cheer for your team.
Yeah. Right.
And now, if you want to get after the other coach because he's being acting a fool sometimes,
well, that's fine.
You see a little bit of that,
but not when they're.
And in high school, I don't think you should have that. Again, I'm a big believer in your own team. That's what the problem with all the chirping in baseball is in general. Where is it about your team or is it about the other team? And that's where it gets a little, amped up. Mm-hmm. And listen, I'm not telling you the most perfect. We all get competitive and say stuff, and there are things you wish you don't say, and then there's just like over the top that you never even go to. But I mean, it's got all levels, right?
If you're gonna heckle, then the opposing coach gets after you. You better not go the next inning, set up behind home plate, and tell your son where the catcher's setting up. Because then I'm really going to light you up. Because that's Bush League.
That's a little Bush League.
That's happened to me twice.
Already?
Once this year.
Wow.
Once last year in travel ball, I lit that parent up too. But that's freaking Bush League, and so you got to let him know.
Yeah.
Then my pitcher, I mean, I love him. He's not handled. He handled it all right. But then we were up huge in the game already. He literally signals fastball on the bump, and I'm like, oh my gosh. He throws it right by the guy. But
that's good.
I was like, oh, maybe that might be a little.
They should have like that. You should have like a league where you tell the guy what's coming.
That's banana ball.
Yeah, I guess it is.
It didn't matter.
It doesn't matter sometimes. Hitting's hard. That's why it doesn't matter.
That's right.
Hitting is hard.
That's why you quit.
You don't even have to have great stuff. Like you can still tell me it's coming and it might still not get it. It actually might play with you mentally even worse at this level. All right, I want to get to we have a bunch of interviews and things going on today too between 11 and 12. We have Daniel Griffith's article out on actionsportsshacks.com. I want to get into it 12. I I don't feel like there's still a lot left over from the last couple of days, but I do feel like there's a couple of things left over. So let's get to it right now, Hamby. And you hit on something good here about the one you picked, because Liam Coen was talking about the inexperienced staff. That's been obviously a big talking point for everybody, and for obvious reasons. But here's what he had to say about a staff that's built the way they are built right now.
Hunger, want to. Guys that are trying to prove it, guys that want to, continue to ascend throughout the profession. I think that we have plenty of experience to get this thing done. I believe in the staff that we built. I got Sean McVay, I've got Kevin O'Connell, I've got a lot of guys that we can go and call in times of crisis that are going to be more than welcome to some of those conversations. And then, you've got experience throughout the staff, and we do have experience. We have a lot of guys that have been in the trenches in some really productive organizations. There's not one coach that we hired that didn't have another opportunity.
Are you a wrestling?
That's an interesting little nugget, Rare, right? Like, the opportunity might have been the one that they were at, but I thought that was here's why I think that's an interesting outlook on it. It's not out of this world, but we look at a locker room and we say, okay, are these players going to have a chip on their shoulder? I've told you many times about 2016, and I thought the Jags coming out of 16, the players were really, man, they had something to prove. Mm-hmm. I think coming out of this past year, they have something to prove. Now, let's be honest. Coming out of the year prior, they were supposed to have something to prove as well. But coming out of 2023, a lot of that something to prove might have got buried by the time they got to the season based on from New Miller Electric Center to, wait, was that 20? That actually had opened 23. But to new contracts, Trevor, Josh.
Not, but
and I'm not telling you that those guys rested. I'm just saying there's a subconscious there. That are you still as bitterly angry at what happened at the end of December and early January by the time you get to August and September anyway? No. But especially after we're talking about all these good things going forward for the season. I mean, Shad Khan obviously now famously said this is the best team ever assembled in Jacksonville. You don't usually say that coming off a team that had an epic collapse.
Right.
Like, that's not usually the tone. So was the tone not as good, not as strong, not as right? So I think this team has been motivated in the past, is my point, in the locker room. I think they will be motivated this year. I think they've got plenty to prove, whoever stays around here, whoever's part of this stuff. So that's built in, and that's nice. And I do think it sets up a little bit more like 2016 to 17 when we saw that, especially some of the goofy metrics of one-score games and turnovers and everything else does too. But I actually think because this staff comes with a little bit of criticism, Liam Coen and what happened in Tampa. Liam Coen, the resume is not big enough. Liam Coen, not as many interviews as Ben Johnson. James Gladstone, 34. Like, what is this guy doing as a GM, right? What are all these things that are revolutionary and out of the box, cutting edge? People have questions. It's the youngest coach GM combo in the National Football League. What about a first-time DC? What about a first-time OC? What about a 29-year-old guy? Like, these are, and I'm not telling you these questions are bad questions. I just think there's reason that these guys also have a chip. You could also say, oh, we landed in our dream job. Let's go to the beach. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they know they have a lot to prove. And I thought that was pretty good by Coen to say, listen, we got a hungry staff. I don't usually hear that. Was this last staff hungry? Again, we compared to the last regime. Doug Peterson had a Lombardi trophy. He had turned the Jags into a winner, quite frankly, 9-8 and 9-8. Hadn't been done in 20 years. Mm-hmm. Are you really that hungry? At 56 years old? You're on your way out, flirting with retirement if you're Trent Baalke? Are you really that hungry? Maybe. I'm not telling you they weren't. I'm just saying, are you as hungry as the 34-year-old, 39-year-old guy trying to create legacy, trying to build legacy?
They haven't proven
anything. Trying to prove people right. They haven't won a game.
Right.
They've never won a game in this spot. So many guys on that staff have never won a game in this spot. I think that's natural. I think they are hungry. I think you have this nice combination now here in Jacksonville of a hungry staff, to use that word, and now a hungry football team too, because they've got a lot to prove as well. And there will be newcomers in here that wouldn't have experienced the last couple of years. And Trevor and Josh and other people that have to show them that. They have to get them bought in. What did I say last year about Eric Armstead? Hey, you got to tell that dude that Houston sucks.
Yeah.
You got to tell this whole football team, by the way, that Houston game means more than any game this year after what they did to our quarterback. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to tell people that stuff. So, but there's enough hungry people in that locker room. There are enough of those guys that can do that. That's their job to do it. And now you add to this hungry staff. I don't know what that means. Again, all these things don't mean that this is going to work.
Right.
I just think it's different. It goes and adds to the freshness. It's a little bit of a different view and feel around this group than there have been in past regimes for so many obvious reasons. But these are the reasons we're pointing out that it also sounds a little bit different. So I like that. And I think he also harps on something that is true. There's a lot more experience on this staff in totality than we're all giving it credit for.
Right.
From Edgar Bennett to you name it. Right? So I think we do have to acknowledge that. It's just that in these key positions, there's a lot of inexperience as well. So I thought that part was interesting. The other one left over that we have, James Gladstone, talking about Trevor Lawrence, Hamby. And I joked about it with him in my interview, and we joked about it on the show even prior, I think. It was pretty wild that on Monday, like, Trevor was not a part of that news conference. And Trevor questions got asked a little bit more on Tuesday. Here's James Gladstone talking about number 16.
I don't think we've seen the best of Trevor, and I'm really excited for Liam to get a chance to work with him, support him, and really bring the tools that he has in his arsenal to life. And I think it starts by the protection, right? Making sure that he feels like he's got as much time to work with as possible, and also that he's comfortable with the pass catchers. And so I think through that lens, he's going to feel that change in both the operation schematically and then the personnel that we invite into the building.
Okay, so he was asked about more about that later, and that's where we got into the protecting the
dish.
The dish, because he's really focused on the interior. Because obviously, when we hear about pass blocking, we hear most about edge, right? So the tackles. He's really, and he talks about it with you also, stepping up. He wants the interior to be stronger, so that Trevor can really feel comfortable putting his foot in the ground and letting the ball rip. So, I think, like you said, it's going to come through how it's taught, how it's coached from Coen, but there's a player acquisition aspect as well. And
of course, they also said, and the one that's going pretty wild is the run the offense through Brian Thomas Jr., right? The passing offense going to run through Brian Thomas Jr. But he said Trevor is going to feel the change, personnel-wise, who we bring in, and also schematically, what Cohen's going to do. I've got to be honest with you, I don't really know what that means. So if I'm Trevor Lawrence at home and I'm watching this and I see this and I'm like, hopefully he's watching the Brent and Austin show right now with Jason Hamby on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. And Trevor's like, Brent, I don't know what that means either, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Schematically, obviously, it's going to be different. Schematically, they're going to try to run the football better, so you feel that change. I don't know outside of that what schematically means. I know we can all guess, but I don't sit here and pretend to be X's and O's guy.
Well, Coen did say on a separate scheme topic that there's going to be fewer dropbacks.
He did say that.
Right?
He said that with us, yeah.
Fewer, I thought that was very interesting.
Now, did he mean by that? I thought he meant by that basically, we're not going to throw it 40-plus times a game because we're going to run the ball.
Well, but he also talked about easy throws and getting them out of the pocket. Because he was like, there's easier completions out there that he's got to hit and that we've got to give it to him.
That's a good point. He did say that, and he's harped on that.
Right, and then rollouts or play action, and not just 5-step drops where you're giving, the whole stadium knows that you're passing, and you give the defense plenty of time to send pressure.
Yeah, that's a good point. So that could be what it means. And then the personnel side of it, right? Like, it was what Gladstone has to marry that together and say, hey, we're going to provide you this. And then he did. You're right. He talked about the dish. But here's what I continue to go back to, folks. And he did say this. This is another thing. I thought Gladstone gave us a lot yesterday. I really thought he gave us a lot. Mm-hmm. A lot more than he gave us on Monday. From the perennially dominant stuff to when I asked him about the offensive line contractually, it's like, what are you going to, it's like, well, we're going to coach the guys we got. I mean, these guys are going to play for us. Yeah. He basically said, yeah, you're right. The offensive line is coming back. Mm-hmm. With the exception, again, it looks like of Sheriff, who you've got options there. So is a right guard going to fix the dish? Are you going to try something else? I don't know. And then coaching scheme and everything else. But personnel-wise, to me, it's fascinating personnel-wise, this, unlike any other time in Jags history. Because when you bring new people in, as I said to these guys yesterday when we had them live on the show, if I bring a new owner, general manager, whatever, into this operation, the natural instinct is to bring your own people in some spots. Doesn't always happen, but a lot of times it happens, is to bring your own people. We see that. We see that in college sports, from recruiting to other things. And it's interesting that these guys have signed up for a gig that contractually says you're going to have, let's call it 70% of this roster or 60%, whatever it is.
Feels like at least 70.
That, especially from a starting standpoint,
right?
That looks like it's in place. And you really can't go get, boom, this guy. Well, you can. You just have to make moves. You have dead money, trade them away, whatever it might look like. So how that unveils itself, and that's coming soon. Like, we will be able to really have a better idea in about 3 weeks from today.
Yeah.
The league year starts 3 weeks from today, and we will know. So the roster construction here with a new regime of what we normally know is fascinating to me. So when I hear, hey, Trevor is going to notice it personnel-wise, well, how's he going to notice it if, let's just say, Kirk is here, Ingram is here, 4 out of the 5 linemen are here, 2 of the running backs are still here, Brian Thomas Jr. obviously here, Gabe Davis here, Brenton Strange is here. Does that feel different? What do you feel there? The huddle looks exactly the same. So what do they have in mind in that regard? I think it opens it up to, wow, that's going to be pretty wild.
They got to take every opportunity to put a new guy in there, I think, with when I'm talking about like the free agents. That's the vibe I get because they're so limited, right, with their options that the ones that they do have has to be, because they've got to get some new faces in there.
Yeah.
So that's like where I would go with like Sheriff and Cisco and even guys like Farrell or obviously Dearness. Like the easy ones to not bring back are going to be automatic in my opinion.
Well, and Coen kind of said, you guys know, right? That's what we got to yesterday. Listen, defensively, I think you can do a lot more of this. Offensively, you have some tough decisions to make. Now, you can make them. We can get there with you, but are they going to make them? And again, going back to the Gladstone, this is where I think Gladstone was good too. And I think even Coen commented on it, if I remember correctly. But Gladstone says, I'm not a tear it up guy. I'm a build it up guy.
Right.
So, like, just because these guys are here, we're coming in, doesn't mean I have to just change it just to change it. We're going to try to build these guys up better because of schematics, coaching, and also who else we're going to put around them. Sounds cool. It sounds good. Everything sounds great. But I also say, like, you appreciate when you're in our world especially, and I think your world subconsciously as a listener and a viewer and a fan of the Jags, there are so much where we talk about, it's the cliche. We get the cliches. I think maybe it might have taken me until about 11 o'clock on Wednesday, after 2 days and plus of some of this, to really realize I think part of what we like here is we're not hearing the same cliche stuff. Now, it's going to quickly become a cliche because they pound the same messages, but some of this stuff does sound a little bit different, the way they're saying it, how you would normally answer some of these questions. Now, we'll see if they act in that way too, of course. We got to hold them accountable to doing that, and what does it look like? We'll see. One last thing on this topic for now that I don't want to forget about. If you ask Liam Coen about James Gladstone, if you ask James Gladstone about Liam Coen, the first thing that comes out of their mouth about one another is the same thing. Elite communicator. Elite communicator. And again, we're in the communication business. It's one of the hardest things to do. I've been telling my kids since they were young age, if you can communicate like at all, at a decent level, you will be above 90% of the population. You want to know my other bullet points there, if you can pay attention to detail, and also if you can work more than like an 8-hour day. Like, those are my 3 bullet points to the kids, that you can get like above 90% of the population. Communication is hard. Like, it really is. And especially when you have levels of it in a billion-dollar industry like the NFL is, with all the eyeballs and microscopes and everything else. So they have brought in 2 elite communicators. I don't necessarily know exactly what that is, what that looks like, what that means, but I like the sound of it. And then I bring up, too, that whole IQ and EQ thing that everybody keeps mentioning. They're alike in that way. So I could do another half hour on this topic, and maybe we'll bring it back a little bit. But I think it's just interesting to hear each guy described that way. And then the other thing that I have to learn about, and this is what I teased, and I said there's a small red flag when you're in this that kind of ecosystem. Look at, hey, he's got me saying ecosystem.
Oh my gosh,
it's a great word, but. And I've shared this story before, and I think it was like Gus Bradley along the way where I was talking to. I think it was, and I think it's a very good look at business in general, or leadership in general. Of, okay, do you want the guy with the same traits as you leading the way? So I bring up what we do when we have Austen. It's Brent and Austen show. Brent and Austen are 2 very different people. Like, I don't know if you guys think it works, but we feel like it works because of that. Fill in some gaps, right? Fill in some holes. Fill in my weaknesses with Austen, or my strengths with Austen, vice versa, that kind of thing. So that's the idea of this. So when you have a GM and a head coach, and I'm looking at them, they're like, wow, they're described about the same. They're a lot alike. Well, are you missing any weaknesses? They're not perfect. So are you filling in the voids? And I'm sure there are a lot of qualities that they're different on, too. We're hearing the ones that they are alike. Or is that where Tony Baselli comes into play? Or potentially an Ethan Waugh, if he's still part of it, or whoever else. That's why I say it's small, like, okay, do you need to yin and yang with stuff that is, that we don't always do it the same way? So anyway, I just thought that part was interesting. It's pretty wild that you would, if you asked me about you, Hamby, right, and I gave you a phrase, probably wouldn't come out as nice as these guys are saying about each other, and then you get asked about me.
Yeah, it would be 2 different things.
It's most of the time going to be very different. These guys are telling the world the first thing that comes out of their mouth is exactly the same. Elite communicator. I just thought it was wild. Delphonic says, add both of them to Trev, who's also an elite communicator. Yeah. Now, I don't know about that on the field, Delphonic. You know, I'm not sure. That's where it really matters for him. But I get you. And we are different personalities, yes. We don't look alike either. Delphonic was mad that I roasted you with that picture yesterday.
I don't even know why I was doing that, because it was like
you did it like multiple times. That's why I was able to capture it. But it actually it summed up the couple of hours. Like, there are not a lot of times that I'm like beat up after a show, but there was a lot of mental gymnastics going on in yesterday's show. Just to let you know. Hey, we've got the Bob Hayes Invitational on the horizon, and we've got a couple of guests talking about one of the great events we have here in Jacksonville, and the next rendition of it, the 2025 Bob Hayes Invitational. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we come back here on the Brent and Austin Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Baker's Sports and High School 912 Media Day in the books for the spring sports season. We had a great time out there. Well, I didn't, but Marcel Robinson, Olivia Tassley did a great job, and we'll have a lot of that coverage. Moms and dads and coaches and kids will be right here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Give us a few days to compile it all, and then hopefully by next week or in the next 10 days or so, you'll be able to see it on the network at actionsportsjax.com. Hours and hours of coverage, and your favorite kid and your favorite team, and a lot of Marcel Robinson on the network, and it will be on replay fashion here at actionsportsjax.com. It's one of the hot spots in the area.
Welcome you to String Sports Brewery out at the beach. Big crowd on hand tonight. The fans are here.
And now, the newest hot spot at the beach is open. String Sports Brewery in Jax Beach has opened its doors with rave reviews.
We're going to be fans forever.
Cozy up to the bar. Grab a seat in the sports-themed restaurant, or grab a seat outside and feel that breeze coming off the beach as the weather warms. Just like the original location in Springfield, try the popular beer menu and come for lunch or dinner too, because the food is fantastic. He's got some exciting news heading into 2025 as well. Christian Kirk. It's where we hosted Jags Report Live in the football season, and the String Sports Brewery staff can't wait to host you. Hey, welcome back here to String Sports Brewery. And if you haven't checked out the new location in Jax Beach, which many of you have, you got to do it. String Sports Brewery, now with 2 locations in Springfield, and now open in Jax Beach on Penman Road.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team. Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Baker's Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker's Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years, and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices her pitching. Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports, from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. bakersport.com.
The Tom Bush family of dealerships, they've been serving customers in the Jacksonville area for 55 years. They've been your go-to spot to get and stay on the road since 1970, and that's still the case here in 2025 and beyond, even if the cars have changed just a little bit. Check out the sleek line of vehicles of the future. That's right, electric vehicles. Tom Bush offers a full lineup of reliable electric cars with state-of-the-art service facilities. Like the new VinFast, Tom Bush is among the first dealers in the entire country to offer the VinFast, and let me tell you, this thing is sweet. The good folks at Tom Bush have all the info on charging, service, tax credits, and everything you need to keep your EV running smoothly. BMW, Mazda, Volkswagen, Mini, and the newly offered VinFast. There's something for everyone at the Tom Bush family of dealerships. Ready to join the Tom Bush family? Stop by the showroom or check out the inventory online at tombush.com.
I'm ready to show my hand, ready to take a stand, wait on a sign above, and I am ready.
For 60 years, the Bob Hayes Invitational Track Meet has provided competitive events, and we're also happy to provide scholarship opportunities too. Join us for the annual Hall of Fame Gala March 13th at the Potter's House and at the James Day Middle School Meet at UNF March 14th.
There they go.
And don't forget the annual Bob Hayes Track and Field Meet at UNF Saturday, March 15th. Get tickets and info at bhitm22.org. For vendors and partnerships, call 904-222-1075.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey, take a look at, we've got some Jax Pal folks coming in at 11:30, by the way. That will happen, and we'll tell you all about the baseball skills camp going on at the bottom of the hour. We've got a fun hour filled with some cool things happening in the community. And then, of course, we know what's happening in just a couple of weeks during the Players' Championship week. We've got the players, but we also have the Bob Hayes Invitational. We just showed you that spot, and we'll have the big gala on the 13th. And, well, one of these guys going into the Hall of Fame. And one of these guys runs the whole deal. And then there's me just talking about it here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Brent Martineau, joined by Greg Coleman. He's got a bunch happening. He joins us from his home, obviously. FAMU grad, Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer, former Minnesota Viking. These guys have a lot of broadcast experience, too. They like to get in the play-by-play color analyst game. And Al Chester, one of the legends from FAMU as well. I'm going to show off some rings here in just a moment. So, hey, a lot to get into, guys, but thanks for joining us and being in studio, Al. Good to have you. We were just reminiscing. I can't believe in my 17 years here, I haven't come across you more often.
Well, I tell you what, I'm happy to be here. Appreciate the opportunity. And look forward to a good broadcast here today.
Well, you don't get this opportunity without one of the best, Greg Coleman, one of the all-world guys. And how's the Bob Hayes Invitational planning going? Just a few weeks away from the Bob Hayes Invitational, by the way, which everyone will be able to see on that Saturday right here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network on actionsportsjax.com. What's up, Greg?
You know, things are going well, and they would look at the three of us and say, all three of you are full of hot air. And but that's what makes the world go around, man. And it's great to be here. It's great to have Al as a member of the Hall of Fame class of 2025, and you, my friend, will be receiving a community service award for the body of work that you've been doing in this community for young people for many, many years. And that's something that Coach Day felt very passionate about. He felt that this organization, this track meet, this community had so many great people that we're standing on their shoulders. And he wanted to pay homage to a lot of those folks in the community. And you happen to be one of them this year, man. Couldn't be more elated to present you on March 13th at the Bob Hayes Hall of Fame Gala.
Well, we're pretty honored to do that, and we appreciate just even to have the platform to be able to do that. One of the cool things that we do in our business. And when I got that call from you, I did not expect that. So we appreciate it so much and can't wait until the gala on the 13th to celebrate everybody, and including Al. Greg, you know Al really well. So why is he a Hall of Famer in your mind?
Well, number one, you look at his body of work as an athlete, as a student athlete, what he accomplished back in the day. Being the quarterback of the first football team to win a 1AA national championship, the first black football team, Florida A&M University, who shocked the world with that performance that year. And a lot of times it goes unnoticed. But Al opened the doors for a lot of young quarterbacks from this community, being a leader all those years, and now back at FAMU, giving back as part of the broadcast team, football and basketball. And Bob always wanted someone from FAMU to be a part of this Hall of Fame. And Al, it was a unanimous decision with the selection committee. So welcome to the Bob Hayes Hall of Fame class of 2025.
Well, I tell you what, I'm excited about it. And when he called me, I asked him, I said, hey, you sure you got the right guy? But real excited about the opportunity. And, Bob Hayes has always been a fan of mine as a youngster growing up. if you lived in Jacksonville and you watched this guy perform on the track, you watched him perform with the Dallas Cowboys, and you played street ball, everybody wanted to be Bob Hayes.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I had a chance to meet him, obviously, super guy, and I'm elated again to be a part of this whole process.
You know, it's kind of wild. I can imagine that everybody wanted to be Bob Hayes, right? In the street, playing football in the grass, wherever it was. And the crazy thing is, all these years later, nobody can be Bob Hayes, and I'm not sure anybody ever will. Like from Jacksonville legend story, I don't think so. But I think Greg does such a great job, and the committee and everybody else that runs the Bob Hayes Invitational, which is one of the prestigious track meets around the country at the high school, middle school level. Of keeping the legacy around, and Coach Day as well, Greg. And I know you guys have to be really proud of that, to be able to share with generations of folks. And quite frankly, I say this all the time, I don't know everything. We learn a little bit more. I got here 17 years ago. We were just saying, you retired, Al, like right when I got here. Right. So we haven't really crossed a lot of paths, but you learn about the history of Jacksonville, right, a little bit more, some of the legends of Jacksonville. And one of the first things you do when you get in my job is you learn about Bob Hayes. But, Greg, you guys have done such a great job with Coach Day's scholarship. Obviously, what Bob represents, the late Bob Hayes represents to Jacksonville, and honoring that.
You know, the legacy is so amazing. And if we don't tell our story, if we don't provide a platform for young people to know about history, Bob Hayes, the greatest athlete, one of the greatest athletes in the world. Let me tell you this real quick. Bob Hayes is the only man that God blew breath in the existence of mankind to win 2 Olympic gold medals and a Super Bowl ring for the Dallas Cowboys. No other human being that has ever walked the earth has done that. How special is that? And for young people to get a history lesson, we have a museum, a mobile museum that will be at Hodges Stadium over at UNF, so the kids can see some of his artifacts, the Olympic gold medals, the shoes that he won the gold medal in, some cowboy memorabilia, and all of those things. But more than anything else, Bob was a compassionate community person. And the latter part of his life, Bob said, Greg, whatever you do, and he was speaking prophetically because Coach Day was still running this thing. And this was many, many years ago. He said, whatever you do, keep it about the kids. I said, Bob, Coach Day is going to be here to run this thing. And even Coach Day telling me, when are you coming home to run the Bob Hayes? I said, Coach, I'm in Minnesota. I'm not coming home. I'll come to visit. I'll come be the announcer. But we finally had to move back. Mom's health was failing. Long story short, 2 weeks prior to when we moved back, 2 weeks prior to the Bob Hayes in 2023, Coach Day decides to take a nap. And this whole thing fell to us, and I can hear his voice. Whatever you do, keep it about the kids. I could hear Bob Hayes. Whatever you do, Coleman, keep it about the kids. And that's what we do. 60 years. This year, we're also going to honor some of those men who ran in that first Bob Hayes track meet many, many years ago. A lot of those men still live here. So the legacy and the history of those founders, Nat Washington and Coach Kitchens and Jimmy Johnson, the list goes on and on and on. But what they instilled in us, when Al came to FAMU, I tried to instill in him. And when he, moved up the ladder to be, one of those seniors on campus, he instilled things in other kids that came up, man. So you continue to give, you reach back as you climb. And that's what we all do.
Well, you've done a great job of that. By the way, senior freshman roommates at FAMU. And Greg did tell me, he said, anything that happened after freshman year, I'm not responsible.
Well, I told everybody, if you don't like me, blame Greg. But, one of the things I'd like to add to what he's saying is about the history and tradition of the Bob Hayes track meet, how important it is for the young people to understand the shoulders that they're standing on. And I think it's deep history, not only with Bob Hayes, but a lot of history with the athletes around Jacksonville that these young folks don't know anything about. So, Greg has done a great job. Coach Day did a tremendous job with it. Greg has taken it to another level. And I tell you what, I'm excited to be a part of it. and anxious to see where he's going to take it.
I think you guys say what you're saying is so prophetic and right. As I get a little bit older, like I've said something recently, as our parents get older, or if you're fortunate to still have grandparents, whatever age you are, and this world is moving so fast, and everything's moving so quickly and forward, and everybody wants to be on the cutting edge of it. But I do think those older folks from those years are such a great connection to. They're our history book now.
Absolutely.
Right? Like that's the connection to, even if it's the 70s or the 60s or the 50s, whatever it is, that time there, that wasn't that long ago. And look how fast things have changed, and you can ask them about it. And I find myself doing that a lot more and really enjoying that part. Like that connection to the older generation is so important. And so as you say that to these kids, and as you're doing this, and the kids don't know that, right? They'll see those shoes and they'll be wowed by it. They'll be wowed by Bob Hayes. And they won't realize that probably for a few years down the road that they ran in the Bob Hayes Invitational track meet. And it was as big of a deal as it is for them.
I tell you what.
One of the things that we're trying to do with our website, with technology, we're trying to capture all of those giants, the Bob Hayes and all of that Hall of Fame crew and all of those folks. So when they go to the website, and this is something that we're working on. When they push the button of Al Chester, they can see a video clip in his story, because if we don't tell his story, history will be lost. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to grasp, because 60 years from now, we want kids to know about Bob Hayes, James Coach Day, Jimmy Johnson, Al Denson, and the list goes on and on and on. So that's the level that we're trying to get to before we pass this baton off to the next leader of this organization.
Yeah, doing a great job of it. By the way, speaking of that website, think Bob Hayes Invitational Track Meet, okay? And it's those letters, BHITM22.org. So BHITM22.org to get all that information that Greg is talking about. I don't know if you wanted to jump in with something.
No, I was just going to say that the older you get, you appreciate life and the journey that you've gone through and everything we're talking about. I mean, Mama told me, she says, your day-to-day is going to be somebody else's day tomorrow. Well, for me, tomorrow is come and gone 100 times.
Yeah.
But you have a great appreciation for all your accomplishments as you get older. And just like you mentioned about the young people, they may not understand it right now, but later on, they're going to dial it back, and it's going to come back, and they're going to have an appreciation for what Greg and his staff are doing out there with the Bob Hayes.
Absolutely. And by the way, there's so much rich history, and I'm not a native. I'm not a Jacksonville guy to begin with, but I appreciate that history, and I learn about it as we continue to go. And those are important things for even people in my line of work to be able to say in front of a microphone and share with other people in the next generations that come up, because Jacksonville is so rich with all of that too, as it has changed too, and as it continues to change. All right, we got to talk about these rings a little bit, man. We got some we have jewelry in the studio.
Some Greg, hardware.
You're gonna bring your jewelry next time too. We're gonna see whose looks a little bit better. But tell us what we have here, Al Chester.
Well, to the right there is the 1977 National Championship ring from FAMU. We were the only undefeated team in the country. To the far right is the 1978 National Championship, the first Division I AA National Championship ring. And like Greg mentioned, I do the broadcast for football and basketball. The big ring in the middle is the 2023 National Championship ring, Black National Championship ring from FAMU.
Wow, so that's the newest one, and they made them bigger.
Absolutely.
Rattlers are strike again, baby.
That's good stuff. Hey, Greg, how can people get involved? I know the gala's a big deal, right? And Coach Day scholarship. What's the best way to tell people? Obviously, you do have the website, BHITM22.org, to go on and get more information. Is that the easiest way?
That is the easiest way right now. The gala is sold out with 400 plus on that Thursday night, but the middle school meet on Friday. Come be a part of that with those young people, because those are the future Hall of Famers. And then the Bob Hayes track meet. Come out and support, man. We'll have vendors and food trucks. Again, I mentioned the museum. Believe it or not, Bob Hayes' daughter is a part of the board Westine Lodge. So this class, this Hall of Fame class of Al Chester and Justin Gatlin and Garrett Scantling, Pauline Elaine Davis, a Bahamian 5-time Olympia champion, and for these youngsters, Tawana Titi Terry, who was a Bob Hayes champion herself, but also a member of the gold medal 4x400 meter relay team that just competed in Paris. She is being inducted as well. So it's going to be a great weekend, the 13th, 14th, and 15th, but you can also make donations for the scholarship fund. And let me say this. Coach Day believed in education. He believed in helping young people. So as a result, we started the James Day Scholarship Fund. And over the last number of years, we have helped young people start their way in college and in the way that things are changing. Man, young people are going to need help more than ever. So even if you can't make it to the gala, even if you can't make it to the middle school meet and clinic, man, go on the website, make a donation, because you never know what young person you're helping, not only changing their lives, but we're changing generations through education and these scholarships. So please come and be a part. Go to the website, bhitm22.org.
Think about the stories that have run in this track meet over the years. It's just unbelievable. I mean, you just mentioned some of them, right? And you mentioned Garrett Scantling. I actually just saw his dad this morning. One of the great and probably undertold stories out of Jacksonville as fourth in the Olympics in Tokyo a few years back. Decathlete out of Georgia. There's a bulldog for you there, Hamby. And just tremendous. And his brother, Hunter Scantling, was a terrific athlete as well. So those are the and he won,
was he Episcopal?
I think, at Bobby. Yeah, Episcopal. So, I mean, those are the kind of stories, and there are so many more. You don't have to make it to the Olympics to be an incredible story coming out of the Bob Hayes Invitational track meet over the years, 60-plus years running. And it's at UNF, by the way, great venue for it, one of the best tracks for these really good athletes to run on really in the entire country exists right here at the University of North Florida. Before we let you guys go, Al, you've got one of the great resumes of all time, man. You've fun, like we were talking about it, from the football side of stuff to what you're doing now with FAMU. But in between, I mean, working for the mayor's office back in the day, and then you for 25 years you were doing like NCIS work. I think we could probably do 20 minutes on that. Like everybody listens, like, how do I get into that world? I see the TV shows.
Well, I tell you what, man, I had a chance to travel around the world and go places that I never would have under normal circumstances. I mean, from Japan to Europe and Naples, Italy, all through the United States, Bangkok, Thailand, the Philippines. Tremendous opportunity. I tell you what, if I had to do it all over again, I'm not sure I'd do it again, but I had a great time, and it allowed me to provide for my family. But a tremendous time, and I got a chance to see a whole lot. And I always try to come back and share my adventures vicariously through presentations that I did with high school students. Mm-hmm. And it's just been tremendous. So like Greg said, I mean, you always want to give back. You can't give back enough. I have two grandsons that almost tall as me now, so I'm chasing those guys. But at the same time, I always want to do the best I can to try to help somebody else.
I guess two gentlemen have done a great job of that. Why do you say you wouldn't do it again? Is it dangerous?
I didn't say that.
And you can't say that. Hey.
I can't tell it.
Tell it all.
You can't tell everything.
You can't tell.
I'm a reporter at heart. Sorry. Had to ask. Couldn't let that one slide by. We'll let it infiltrate the mind instead. We'll take it wherever we want it to go in that sense. Where we want to go is the Bob Hayes Invitational Track Meet, March 14th and 15th, right at UNF. And again, we're proud of this. We're excited about this. Join hands with the Bob Hayes Invitational Track Meet. We'll have it on the network now, actionsportsjacks.com on that Saturday. It will just be the Saturday part of that. Looking forward to it. And also the gala, of course, on the 13th to honor some of the best athletes in Jacksonville. And really can't say enough about the job Greg and everybody does with the Bob Hayes Invitational Track Meet and keeping legacies alive. That's not an easy thing to do. That's an easy thing to say you're going to do. It's not an easy thing to do. And Greg Coleman and everybody else is part of this, doing a great job doing just that. Guys, I know Greg's got to run. He's got to go educate some more and do a workshop, and we appreciate you hanging out. Good luck to FAMU the rest of the way.
Thank you, buddy. We'll see you next time.
All right, that's Albert Chester. Greg Coleman. Thanks, Greg.
All right, guys. Be well. Take care.
And there you go. There's more on the Bob Hayes Invitational Track Meet again. BHITM22. Make sure I get that right. Did I leave a letter out? BHITM22.org. I got it right. BHITM22.org. We'll be right back on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
Just be yourself. Maybe we're talking about being a dad or a mom, a first responder or a teacher. Maybe it's a sports fan. We love those. We're talking about anyone in the Jacksonville community. At Community First Credit Union, just be yourself means being real. When you partner with Community First, it's straightforward. They're people connecting with you so you can be yourself. I've been coming here to Community First for years. This is the Bartram branch, the one I usually come to. And they have mortgage loans, personal loans, and auto loans. And I'm almost done paying off that truck loan. Just a few more months. Good rates, easy online banking, and friendly customer service when I have a question. It's easy to be myself with Community First. They live up to the slogan in their name. Community First has partnerships in the Jacksonville community with the Iceman, the Florida Theater, the Jacksonville Zoo, and many more. Visit one of the Jacksonville branches or find out all you can do with Community First Credit Union at communityfirstfl.org so you can just be yourself.
For the game day hustle and every day in between, juggling my show Jag Social to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, you can take 10% off any water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
All right, so here's what the deal. See that part of the screen, the left corner? Not really, bottom left corner, I guess. We got baseball skills camp coming up. We're going to talk all about it with Jax Powell. Look at all the other things going on, by the way. Not just baseball skills camp, but Jax Powell at the Players Championship. You can help support Jax Powell. And, of course, Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network, Brent and Austin Show, proud to be a partner of the Jacksonville Police Athletic League. We've been telling you about it just about every day here on the show. And now we get to have other folks in studio to help us tell a little bit more about it. And we're well protected today because we got Officer Christopher Perry in studio. We don't need that protection, but we got it here just in case. And then we got LaShawn Highsmith as well. And we've had on the show before talking about the skills camp coming up. We're going to get into that and some registrations that can take place for the new for the baseball league happening as well. And then I got a feeling this guy's the star of the program. This is LJ, 10-year-old baseballer. I'm trying to get a little bit more information on him. He's a lefty, though. So that's a good start. You hit left, too, or just throw left?
I hit left.
All right, that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful, beautiful thing. You pitching at all? Mm-hmm. All right, take care of the arm. Don't throw too much. Put a limit on there. We can give you all the advice everybody does. So LJ's with us as well here inside the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network studios. All right, let's get it rolling. Get the skills camp. We've talked a little bit about it in the past. How's it gone? Where's it going? And when's it coming up?
Well, actually, when we was on before, we was talking about the Diamond in the Rough, which we did at the beginning of the year. And the Jax Powell Skills Camp has been a fall-off. This is the second time we've done the camp, partnering with our organization, partnering up with Powell and trying to get the sign-ups and getting the baseball rolling in the fall. And now we're coming back this Saturday. What time was the camp?
2 p.m.
This Saturday at 2 p.m. Then we're actually continuing on, and this time we're actually getting the sign-ups. There will be opportunities for everyone to do registrations, and then after the camp and also during the camp and getting ready to go into the season.
Yeah, because the registration for the season is coming up right after, about a month after this camp.
Yes.
And the Arrows Baseball, Eastside Athletic Association.
Yes.
And how about your role, Officer Perry, in Jacksonville Police Athletic League in supporting ball and a lot of other things, obviously, that Jax Powell does, but this specific initiative?
Well, yes, sir. I'm the baseball coordinator at Jax Powell. I've been with Jax Powell for about 5 years, almost 5 years now. And I've been in the role as the flag football coordinator, and now I have both roles. So that's exciting. And
you have signups going on all over the place.
Everywhere. So the baseball program is something that we wanted to bring to our East Side location at the Powell, because we have sports at every location at the Powell around the city except for the East Side program. However, as most people know, our Powell locations are at city parks, and we have a nice baseball field. So we've been getting a lot of support and a lot of support through organizations like SBK and Arrows Athletics and Walk-Off Charities. And like you said, Eastside Athletic Association. They're coming together. Guys are coming together. Women are coming together to make this thing successful. I mean, we're completely doing a field renovation, a baseball field renovation, a $10,000 project.
Awesome.
Which completely donated by Arrows Athletics. So people are coming together, Walk-Off Charities, like we said, they're donating gloves, they're donating equipment, and it's something exciting on the horizon at for the Eastside baseball program.
This is pretty cool, actually, right? When you take a look at all the different things that are coming together. You just mentioned it. I mean, obviously you have Jack's Pal. You're wearing that logo. Stolen Base Kings. That's the SBK that Officer Perry just referenced. Diamond in the Rough, the clinic that you've done in the past, obviously. Yes, Walk-Off Charities we know so well. We've done much with Frank's charity over there at Walk-Off Charities. And Arrows Baseball and Eastside Athletic Association. That's a lot of folks coming together to kind of help create more opportunity for baseball in all the different locations, as you said, but now on the east side.
Absolutely, it's much needed, and to be honest with you, I've been shocked at how much support that we've been receiving. I've had multiple meetings with Coach Highsmith and his wife. They've been excellent. They've been perfect in their role as partners with us and getting this baseball program. Because ultimately, we want to see kids on the east side afforded an opportunity that they wouldn't otherwise have. And we don't want resources, money to be a hindrance for them to be able to participate in our organization.
Yeah, that's the way to go. That's perfect. Give them the opportunity to play a great game.
Yes, sir.
What are your expectations in terms of numbers or for the league? Obviously, this all, again, is a starting off point with the skills camp. That will then go right into the season. What does it look like? How many teams? How are kids excited to go play and try? And do you need a lot of gloves?
Absolutely. We have gloves, but we can always take more. But my expectation for this year, hopefully, I'm hoping we can have at least 4 to 5 teams.
That'd be great.
Enough kids to have at least 4 to 5 teams in those common age groups, 6U, 8U, 10U, 12U, and maybe even 14U, depending on how many kids come out for this camp and sign up. So it's been gaining a lot of traction. One of the advantages that we do have at the PAL is our after-school programs are at our PAL locations. Mm-hmm. So our Eastside after-school program location, we've already have a ton of kids there that want to participate in our baseball spring league. So I'm sure we'll get a lot of participation from our local area kids right there at the PAL on the east side, but we're going to get more participation, hopefully, from everywhere.
And just real quick, I don't know how much you know about this part of it, but I'll ask you anyway because we see it on the screen. Just even things like the ticket support for Jack's Pal. I mean, those are fundraising opportunities, right? Those money that goes back into Jack's Pal that supports all things, but things like this, but everything that Jack's Pal does. And it's wide-reaching. It's far-reaching, as we always invite people to go to jackspal.org and see how you can participate, whether it's just a donation or different parts of the community here in Northeast Florida. It's not just one location, ton of different after-school programs. It's not just baseball, by the way. It's from boxing to flag football to other things. But those, it's a great event we have with the Players' Championship, and even buying tickets through that, it helps fundraise a bit, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. We definitely believe in fundraising because we always have the hope of giving back to the community. That's the forefront of our mind is always giving back and impacting kids' lives in a positive way so that they can grow up and be productive members of society. So we're privileged in a sense that the officers get to run the athletic sports programs at the PAL. So we definitely look forward to that, and we're privileged to be in that position.
LJ's just sitting here patiently, so I got to get him in a little bit, man. Why baseball? Everybody, is it football, basketball? Will you play some of the other sports too, or what do you like about baseball?
Well, what I like about baseball is a fun, growing sport, and it's fun.
You have a good favorite player?
Mm-hmm.
What do you got?
My favorite player is Jackie Robertson.
That's a good favorite player to have. I like it. He knows his history. Very good. You have a favorite team?
Dodgers.
Good. Okay.
Bandwagon.
Hey, bandwagon's important. When you're that age, that's how it works, right? I mean, Dodgers are really good.
He actually
they have a lot of good players.
Ohtani bandwagon.
Yeah,
Hey, the Ohtani bandwagon's not a bad bandwagon to be on. Sean Highsmith with us. Why baseball for you? Is that run deep in your family? I mean, you're obviously doing a lot with this from the various camps that we've had you on about, including this one. But why is it baseball for you?
Growing up, my mom, she didn't let me play football right off at first, so she let me play baseball. So, and most of everybody in the neighborhood, they played football. I found it being unique was kind of different, with everybody playing baseball. You play baseball, I'm not getting hit with that ball or anything. I'm like, man, it only hurt for a second. I had a coach that drove that into my head, Reggie Lucas. And just growing up, coming back and getting into it, I coached football over at Eagles View, University Christian, Stanton, out in the country day, been a head coach at football. But when he was born and was a lefty, I still always coached baseball. And I actually was the middle school baseball coach right before he was born at Eagles View. And when he was born, I prayed for a lefty. I got a lefty. I was like, okay, let's see if this will work now. So I just gave up football. I walked away from it for a minute. And that's where we've been on the road for baseball. I took the head coach at Reebok for a minute. And just felt like that we need to get back and bring up the younger guys into the baseball. Because on the north side, we have a lack of training and everything. That's where the SBK come in.
That's right.
And we provide training. Like with Officer Perry, we will be providing training with their kids. And, it's free to low cost, So baseball was a thing that grew up. Like I said, growing up, I grew up across the street from Murder Avenue Ballpark, like I was telling Albert Chester.
Yeah.
Watching them play football, but I played baseball in that park. When they stopped football, I was playing with La Villa Sportsman's Club, and all the way through high school, and tried to college and everything else. But baseball, everybody played baseball back in the north, on the north side back in the days. Before my generation came up, everybody played baseball over there. There's a million baseball fields on the north side, and all of them had teams when I was growing up. And now you look at those fields being empty, and you look at the crime rate also going up. Back when we had all those fields empty, I used to sleep on the porch in Durkeeville, because it was hot. We only had one heater, and, so baseball was the thing that I always gravitated to. You always hear it's a thinking man's sport. It was made to fail. It teaches conflict resolution and everything else, and you put that back in our community, maybe we can reduce some of the crime and everything else and actually give kids another opportunity in our communities to go to college.
Really well said. And by the way, the more opportunity that presents, we already know in this area how good the athletes are.
Yes.
We just had Bob Hayes Invitational track meet
Yes.
to football players all over the place. Like Greg Coleman, who, by the way, is in the Hall of Fames and played in the NFL.
Cousin Vince Coleman.
And cousin Vince Coleman. So, I mean, we can go up and down the list, right?
Yes.
But I always do wonder, and I think about these programs and the opportunities. It's like, how many new stars are we unearthing with these kind of opportunities that do gravitate like LJ to baseball?
Yes.
Because, I mean, honestly, maybe football's cooler or basketball's cooler or easier, or mom and dad are doing that, or whatever it is, a bunch of different reasons, or even affordability and opportunity. I got to believe the more opportunity, we're going to get more big leaguers out of Jacksonville, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
One last thing, and we appreciate you guys coming in and talking about it, and we'll show the camp details again. And I want you to make sure we tell everybody how to get there. JacksPal.org is the easiest way to get to a lot of things, quite frankly, which is what we continue to push. But I think it's pretty... It is cool to see what we've been talking about and telling folks about, and to see you here, Officer Perry, and see it in action. Right? And I'm sure you get that a lot, right? I mean, we can go to the website, you can do all these things, but I mean, these are things that are really happening. You guys are coaching some of the blood, sweat, and tears that go into this, some of the impact back to the community that goes into this.
Yes.
And this is the point of the program.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. It's definitely the point of the program. And like I said before, I'm amazed at how much participation and support that people are willing to do if you simply start doing the work.
Yes.
So it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to do it. And people are willing to sacrifice time. People are willing to sacrifice money, sacrifice all types of things just to make baseball a real opportunity on that side of town, the east side of town. And like Coach I. Smith just said, I think if you provide kids the opportunity to play whatever sport, if you provide them with the opportunity, they will take advantage of it. Yeah. I mean, history has taught us that. So we're hoping that that's exactly what happens for this Eastside baseball program.
You a good coach? We small ball it? I mean, what do we think? You giving the signals at third base, or
I'll do whatever I have to do. I mean,
he gonna be small ball.
yeah. I mean, I played baseball growing up myself, and I was a pitcher. I was a pitcher and a shortstop. So baseball was my first sport. I actually went to college to play football, but baseball for me and my brothers, that was the only sport that we played probably from ages 7 or 8 all the way until about 12 years old. It was just all baseball every day, baseball all the time. So baseball is a love of mine. So I really want to see that program thrive, and I don't care what I have to do. We're going to make sure it works, right, Coach?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Good stuff. JacksPal.org, by the way, to go get some more information. Any other way to help and get information for the camp and get people signed up for the camp on the way?
Well, just if they can't if they're not computer literate, can't get on the website, show up. We still taking them as they walk up. So pretty much between the website and everything, all the information's on the websites, and walk-ups available. We'll start an hour early for registrations.
Yeah, we can put some numbers out there too. 904-514-7238 is a number to be able to get in touch with more information about it, and we'll throw that information out there too, so it's easily accessible with the baseball skills camp coming up. And look, that's wide range too, right? 5 to 19 years old. So just come on out, have a good time, get exposed to the sport of baseball. It's not like it's, hey, you got to be 10, 11, 12 years old to do it.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
So there we go. Look forward to that coming up, and appreciate you guys being here. LJ, can't wait to watch you play, man.
Yes, sir.
When's your next game? Do you know?
This weekend I have a tournament Sunday.
You got a tournament on Sunday. All right, go get it done. If you got a bunt, lay down the bunt.
Yes, sir.
Don't spill the water. All right? Don't spill the water.
Just don't miss the heater.
Yes, Hammy's a baseball guy, too. We can talk baseball all day if you want here. Before you go, too, if you want to play Miss Pac-Man, you're more than welcome.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Officer Perry, Coach Highsmith, and LJ. Good luck, man. Appreciate you. Check out the Eastside Baseball Skills Camp and more, by the way, on jackspal.org. We'll be right back after this. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models, or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team.
It's in the dying moments.
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can save $500 on a Kinetico Premier Softener and get a free Kinect Salt Monitor with purchase. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Kinetico water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Kinetico dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
There's a look at the NFL Combine yesterday. Some of the scenes. Hey, Ryan O'Halloran, that's his head right there. Or Jags beat writer, breaking some news on the strength and conditioning coach out of Buffalo. Part of the story the last couple of days around the Jacksonville Jaguars as they announced their coaching staff. Tony Baselli, Liam Coen, and not pictured right there is also James Gladstone.
Brent, the NFLPA survey just came out.
Oh, no. What does that mean? Is this for the Jags?
We didn't treat the families too well.
Is this the Jags?
Yep.
So can you give me a little bit, like is this 24 or like 23? Like, do they run like a year behind?
No, they're on time.
Oh, it is on time?
Yeah.
The Jags, I think, in the past have done pretty well in this.
They
overall,
were 5th last year. This year, overall, 18th. So they fell a little bit.
Huh.
They knocked it out of the park with everything as far as like the MEC, training room, locker room, training staff, weight room, team travel. Head coach got a C, 31st. And then treatment of families, 31st also.
Well, that's pretty interesting. I don't remember the coach and coaches getting graded in this in the past. And this is all from the players.
This says 57% of Jags players feel their former head coach, Doug Peterson, is efficient with their time, a rank of 31 out of 32. I'm not OJ, am I? What do you think?
I'm trying to digest it all here in real time. I'm interested about the families. Like, I feel like the Jags. I don't know what that looks like.
Room.
Oh, because of that. I think didn't they fail? I thought they failed that the last time too, right?
Yeah, that seems like the big
because they don't have like whatever that room is supposed to be, or a nursery there. Like you can't just drop the kids off.
Right.
Because I feel like they do family functions a lot, but I don't know what other teams do. Like that's a hard one to measure. And so overall, they drop off a little bit. The head coach one's kind of interesting. I also think the strength coach was like a B.
But it was 25th, yeah.
I would think a lot of people would have A. Yeah, that's my point. And they obviously changed over the strength conditioning program. You know, it was really interesting last year. And I love Seth. I mean, he's a great guy. I don't know what makes a good strength coach, quite frankly. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what's the separator. Mm-hmm. And we've seen different renditions of that over the years. But I just found it interesting last year, coming off the collapse year this was like 2023 into 2024. And Trent Baalke said at the podium when he finally did talk in January, he kind of said, hey, we need to be tougher. We need to be physically this. And then we'd be like, well, do you need to change? Are you going to make any changes in strength and conditioning? No.
Right.
It was a really odd thing. It was like, you're kind of hammering. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Like you were kind of hammering the strength and conditioning. And do you need to make change? No.
Mm-mm.
I was like, okay, well, that's kind of weird. And I think what he said is like, no, we need to be more competitive with how we do it and blah, 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 blah. Like there were other ways. And I guess that could be the case. But it's just like, okay, if you're the GM of the team and you're telling us that you need to be more physical and you're not super happy with that part of the game, that comes from strength and conditioning program, which is what he kind of hammered one side of his mouth, and then it was like, nah, we're good. The other side. I always thought that was pretty odd. And in part, I was kind of like, well, that's good. At least Sed's going to be around because he's a great dude. So I did think that was interesting. And to hear players not think that they're like that's among the elite in the NFL, that seems like something that you could be bad at football or not win a lot of games and still be good in that area. You know, it's like the Jags are good in special teams and they don't win a lot of football games.
Right.
Like, I think strength and conditioning is one of those areas. Like, you could feel really good about your program, even if, I mean, again, this is coming from players. I know me, like, if we're not doing the strength and conditioning program great, I'm okay with it. But these are players, and this goes back to the whole yearning comment, right? That Liam Coen said some of his interaction with players was they're yearning for more. And now you hear Liam Coen talking about chip on shoulder. Like those, to me, that's a domino effect of that, where this team is hungry. And when you're the 1%, we talk about this all the time with Austen, you want to be coached hard. That's the difference between me wanting to go to the gym and that guy coaching me hard. Nah, thanks, give me a light day. And these guys, they want to be coached hard. They want to get to their peak. Mm-hmm. They want to reach the pinnacle of their profession. They're already there in many respects, but they want to even do more. How do you get more out of me? And I do think we assume that you are who you are when you make it to this level of play because, you're already good. Well, there are levels of good. And by the way, the gap there is so minimal. I actually had somebody say something on Twitter in the last couple of days about that. It might have been just yesterday because I think Coen said we want to be physically and mentally tough football team. Mm-hmm. I think he ended one of his quotes with, and somebody said, well, isn't everybody in the NFL physically and mentally tough?
Right.
And I would say yes, to a degree. But even when you have 30 teams, there are some teams that are better in that department. Sure, they're all good based on probably your average human being. But when you've got 1 through 32 to rank, well, somebody's going to be at the bottom of that list.
Yeah.
And you want to be at the top of that list. And that's an incremental thing. I say this a bunch right now in the world we're living in because speaking of baseball and fun conversation with those guys and jackspal.org, by the way, for more information on the camp. And we'll continue to promote that this week so you can get the information. But like my kids are in college now, and so I'm watching like Flagler play baseball. And I don't know what it really looks like. I played Division II baseball up north. And I thought I was average as the day as long. I don't even think I would make a team now, really. I say that genuinely. And I think the world's changed, the game's changed, but I don't watch a lot, so I don't know what it looks like. I'm trying to figure out, like, I know what high school ball looks like. I watch it for 4 years now. I know what travel ball looks like at a pretty good level or moderate level. I see the differences. Same thing with Kaylee. She's playing in college at the junior college level. I've not watched enough junior college softball for sure, and even baseball to know what that looks like. So I'm trying to figure it out. And one of the things that I go to, and I'm like, it doesn't look vastly different, right? It doesn't look like, holy cow, all of a sudden, like, people are throwing it 15 miles an hour faster. It doesn't, that's not what it looks like. But what I try to say to, like, my wife and stuff, or if you describe it, if you go around to the 9 positions on the baseball field, it's a step quicker here, step quicker there, a little bit more power here. Someone here throws it a little bit harder. They locate a little bit more. They got a better eye. Like, so you start going around and doing that by, like, even if it's this much, but you do it times 9 positions.
Right.
Well, that's that much. Like, that's a big difference. Yeah. That's the difference in ball. And to me, that's the way to describe this from that Twitter comment, which was, well, aren't they all good at phys? Well, yeah, the gap is like this. But if you're only here, you're on the bottom third of that. So I don't know metrically what it looks like. It's not a stat to back it up. But we know this with our eyes. The Philadelphia Eagles, from a physical standpoint, are here. Mm-hmm. And compared to the Philadelphia Eagles, the Jags are here. It doesn't feel close. Mm-hmm. The reality is it's closer than it looks. But it doesn't feel close. And then the mental side of that is I have no idea. Like, I don't even know how you grade that. We question when the Jags lose that game to Miami, or when Tyreek Hill does this, or when they fumble at the goal line, they didn't answer the bell. And then it's like, oh,
and it
here we go.
Over.
So that we have that evidence, and we try to be very careful to be like, oh, they're mentally soft. Like, I know some people don't try to be careful. I do, because that's not it. It's just a level of tough. The Kansas City Chiefs, mentally tough. Here. The Jaguars, here. 17 one-score wins in a row, 10 one-score losses in 2024. That's enough to go on.
Yeah.
That's enough. Like, so I just gave you the Super Bowl champs in the physical category and the mental category. And then I did the Jags. So how do you get those up? Right? How do you increase that? I don't know. So
it starts with the head coach.
Yeah, and I guess it starts with the head coach. It starts with the program. It starts with the messaging. And by the way, it also comes with a little bit of, like, success. Because success breeds success. So I think it'll be pretty fascinating to watch. Speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, just a couple other things going on from the Combine and the National Football League as we get back in after having some guests for an hour, which was fun to catch up with everybody from FAMU all the way to Jack's Pal over the last 45 minutes or so. Travis Kelce's coming back, huh?
Yeah, looks like it. One more year.
Wow. I appreciate it. I would advocate against it. I get to the point, like, in when I talk about these kind of topics, that like, I don't want to watch you get old. Said it about Tiger. You say it about other players. Like, I don't want to watch you get old. So I feel like we're watching Travis Kelce get old. Yeah. And I'm not even like a Travis Kelce fan. Like, I'm not like a big fan of him. I'm just saying he's been really good. So I wonder why he would come back and try it again. Does he not want to leave on that? The problem is when you risk that, when you maybe don't want to leave on that, you risk doing it 2 years in a row.
Right.
Or dropping even more.
But apparently this is coming from originally the GM at the Combine, who said that Kelce is fired up about entering the final year of his contract and playing. Quote, "We left it as he'd be back, and we're excited to get him back and get him going." I think they asked Andy Reid about it yesterday, and he pretty much said the same thing. But I don't know if just that it's the final year of his contract, he wants to play his contract out, really has too much to deal with it. It seemed like that hasn't been too much of a factor for previous guys who have potentially hung it up whenever they've lost a step or two. But looks like they got him for one more year.
What about Gronk?
What, that he's coming back?
Yeah, do you buy any of that stuff?
No. Absolutely not. He's been out of the game for so long.
I mean, so long. It's only been like 2 years, right? Didn't he? He left for a bit, then came back that 1 year, right? Did I have that right? Where he came back like halfway through?
Yeah, he came back. Yeah.
And then, I don't know, man. I feel like he's gotten his body healthy. Like, he's not super old.
Jordan Schultz asked him about it. He said, quote, "Crazy, bro. They must know something about me that I don't. I wish I still had those powers because that would be cool if I did. But I was just in Australia for a few days. Now it's time to relax a little. No football."
Okay, so he did ask him. Which is probably good, too. Okay, so that we got that one. Anthony Richardson.
QB competition.
I tell you, this Indianapolis organization is wild to me. How many times they've whiffed on the quarterback and they continue to get the it's unbelievable. Like, it's unheard of. Like, you thought like keeping Balky was crazy.
Yeah.
And again, I feel like I'm like a Chris. I guess I am kind of a Chris Ballard hater. I don't know. The problem where I come from on the Ballard stuff with Indianapolis is that people raved about this guy like he was Howie Roseman.
Well, they raved about him like they didn't watch him in college. That was the issue.
Well, no, that's Anthony Richardson. I'm talking about the GM of the Colts.
Oh, I'm talking about Richardson.
Yeah, and Richardson. Well, we just said this yesterday on the show, right? Like, when we were or Monday when we were talking about the combine. Like, he's a combine guy. He was a combine draft pick.
Yeah.
And yet we could have said it before going in, and they still fell for it.
We all said it.
And I'm not wishing anything bad on Richardson. I think he's a good, cool guy, and he's probably got a lot of talent. I just wonder who's going to give that opportunity to him. And I mean, people talk about Trayvon Walker 3.5 sacks production and the lack of, and why you wouldn't pick him there because of that. If you were just going on production, if you just turned on the tape when he played for the Florida Gators, Anthony Richardson, he would have been a 6th-round draft pick.
Yeah.
Like, really, he would have been, I don't know, 4th, 5th, 6th, take a chance on him. He was the 4th overall pick. And the GM of the Colts has now run through like a handful of quarterbacks. It's wild to me that he's still got a job.
They still can't even figure out whether they want to play Flacco or not.
So I think that was an interesting story coming out of the combine. They still don't have their quarterback, basically. I don't know who they're opening up with, like the competition.
Well, that's the point. It's like
Flacco or
between Anthony Richardson and a yet-to-be determined player.
Would you bring Justin Fields in?
I would. Yeah, I'd hand him the keys.
Who else would you bring in, though? Like, Justin Fields is a hot name to bring in if you're the Giants, potentially, or could you do that if you're Indianapolis?
Bring in Stafford.
Well, then it's not a competition.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That'd be pretty wild, because that's our next little quick topic here, is the whole Stafford thing is interesting. Again, McVay, if you saw, we tweeted it out yesterday. Was pretty wide open about that.
That was the most I'd ever seen.
Yeah, and so Stafford, they're letting him kind of look around. They're trying to figure out what the money's going to be. I still have a feeling he's going to end up back in L.A. Yeah. But Indianapolis is an interesting one. Tennessee's interesting.
Yeah. The Giants, I've heard of.
Giants
out on them.
I wouldn't want to see Stafford in Indianapolis.
Is there a least coveted day than being Showen yesterday, the Giants general manager?
No, I didn't see much of it.
I didn't either, but just like having to answer all those questions, just like, holy cow.
Oh, yeah. So what did he get peppered? Did he get peppered on Saquon?
Of course. And he was like, yeah, we made some decisions. They didn't work out, but, we move on.
Yeah.
It's putting it lightly better.
That's a tough one to digest. If you're like, look real quick on the AFC South, by the way, just being around Houston, Indianapolis, Tennessee. There's some interesting change there, too. I mean, I think, we know some folks in Houston, and John Harris I was talking to him just for a brief time yesterday. He's like, so what do you think? Okay, what do you really think about this stuff going on in Jacksonville? And, what I really think is everything I say here. I think it can come with question marks, but I like the idea of it. It's different. It's fresh. It's not the same story. It's not the same cliche. It's not the same sound bites. It's not the same terminology. Like, does that mean wins? I have no idea. These guys are smart, no doubt about it, here in Jacksonville. Okay, well, now you go to Indianapolis. Well, it's the same old deal there. They're just still trying to find a quarterback, and they're running a lot of it back from the top of the organization to potentially Anthony Richardson. And they're going to try to lean on the Jonathan Taylors and everything else. And by the way, as they continue to lean on Jonathan Taylor, and he had an awesome year this past year, his age just keeps ticking up. And they haven't won a division title in a decade.
Yep.
And they're really wasting a lot of players that were good pieces in Indianapolis. And you wonder where they're at. Houston, meanwhile, they go get a new OC. How will that work? How will C.J. Stroud adapt to it? How will the league adapt to it?
Has Bobby Sloat gotten a job?
I don't think he did. He's got
to land somewhere.
That's pretty wild. He went from head coach to fired and maybe not even a job yet. Press Taylor got a job before he did?
Oh, he's joining the Dolphins as a senior passing game coordinator.
Okay.
That was 2 weeks ago.
There we go. So they obviously have wide receivers. What's the latest on Stephon Diggs? Does he have anything left in the tank? I feel like he's gone from like a guy everybody talked about in the league to now after getting hurt. And, he was just okay, even when he wasn't hurt, I think, in Houston. And is this kind of the end of the road? Kind of like Calvin Ridley a little bit in Tennessee. I mean, 1,000-yard year, but doesn't feel dynamic, doesn't feel threatening, doesn't feel like, oh boy, look out. Doesn't feel like Brian Thomas Jr. Like those guys don't feel that way. Now, you do have Nico Collins, and does Tank Dell get back? There was a positive report out of Houston, by the way, on him. Does he get back? Will they get the same production out of Donnell Hunter in Houston and also Joe Mixon, who I actually thought could be getting on the older side of things as they came over to Houston? Well, it worked out handsomely for them. Those guys were good moves. Can they do it again? Because, again, their age is ticking up too. And then you have Tennessee. And I don't really know where Tennessee is at. Tennessee feels very quiet. Are they a candidate to end up with a guy like a Stafford or an Aaron Rodgers or somebody like that and make some noise in that way? Are they going to what are they going to do with that pick? Mm-hmm. Are they really going to start to rebuild with the capital by trading away that pick, or do they get Shedeur Sanders or somebody else? So the trajectory of
what would you do?
The trajectory of the Titans really changes in the next couple of months. Now, does it work? I don't know, but the trajectory certainly changes. I believe this. If you don't have a quarterback and you have a chance to go get the best quarterback in a draft, unless there's just nobody there, which like in 2013 when the Jags had that opportunity, and so did the Chiefs, and they picked Eric Fisher and Luke Jokel because there was nothing there at the quarterback spot. Well, if you think, and listen, I don't think this class is unbelievable, but I also thought the 2021 class was going to be unbelievable. So what the hell do I know? But if you like Cam Ward a lot, if you think he's the best, if you like Shedeur Sanders, if you like Jackson Dart, for that matter, who I think is going to climb boards, by the way, and I would buy onto the fact that he might be the best guy of the class.
Thank you, Brent.
But if you like any of those, even a moderate level, you got to go get them. Because there's not many chances that you have to pick in the top 1, 2, 3, 4 where there are quarterbacks that you can go get like the best guy.
Could you imagine if they took Jackson Dart at 1?
I think it would be a good pick by them. But it'd be a gutsy one to do.
They can't do that, Brent.
So my point is, what I think they would do, to answer your question, I think you should take the quarterback. But if you like, I can't assume that they like those quarterbacks. Right. There are a lot of people that seem like they don't like these quarterbacks. That's what the league looks like they're saying, that they're being shoved up the board, and we know that happens. So if that's the case, then you definitely drop back and you get someone else sucked into that. Because here's really what I could do. Let's just say they feel the same way we feel about Jackson Dart. Like, hey, this guy could be pretty good. Well, then why don't you drop back to like number 13, 14, 6, whatever it is. Maybe the Raiders want to jump up with you. Who knows? So you go get that capital, and you go get the quarterback that you thought might be better.
Right.
And then you see if you're right. So, yeah, I do think like Tennessee is in such a good position to be able to really change the trajectory of their franchise right now. Will they do it? Will they pick the right things? Will they operate the right way? I don't know. But they are in a good spot. I actually think like Indianapolis is in a weird spot. Tennessee to me is in a better spot than Indianapolis. Strange to say. Yeah. They're the 4th team in the division, but I think they are in a better spot. And Houston, obviously, we just want to know what are they going to run away from the Jags? Are they going to separate themselves? Are they coming back to the field? Are they just like what did they finish this year? 10-7? Mm-hmm. Something like that? Is that who they are? 10-7, make the playoffs, bow out, maybe win a game, bow out, never make a championship game. Is that just who the Texans are? Which, by the way, is better than being fourth in the division or third in the division and not making the playoffs, but it doesn't feel elite. To me, it's still like they have good players. They still don't feel like an elite organization ready to jump in the fray of Kansas City, Buffalo, the rest. Honestly, the Jags coming off 2022, I thought they were about to enter that way. And that was probably some home cooking on our part. But I thought that they were ready to do that. I don't feel from the outside looking in that's where Houston's going. I feel like they're just kind of right there, which there are worse places to be, but are they going to get to here? The Jags, when you start a new regime, there's hope that you can get to here. And that's what I'm saying a little bit about Tennessee right now. If they make some right decisions, much like we've talked about in Jacksonville, you can now take it from here to, boom, you can be a player. Indianapolis doesn't feel like they're even close to entering that fray because they don't even have a quarterback that they know they like. So I think the AFC South's pretty interesting. But I guess the moral of the story is, damn, it's gettable. And really, despite the moves, despite things gone wrong since 2022, in my opinion, the Jags are actually back in the same position as they were going into 2023, where it feels like the division is theirs to be had if they, are any good.
Yeah.
Like, they can go get it. And they also can dominate it if they tap into Trevor. If this group taps into Trevor and he does elevate his game on a consistent basis, I believe the Jags have a chance to still go on that run. Like, we thought that coming off 2022. Then all of a sudden, here comes Houston. Jags take a step back. We thought that a little bit coming off 23, that, now Houston's going to run for a while. And coming off 24, I feel like, well, they've come back. We know the Jags, that was a little bit of an anomaly of a season for the Jags, even the way they're built. So now I'm almost like, okay, who's the race is to go be the dominant team in the South. And it really feels like it's between the Jags and the Texans, to me. And somebody on the outside looking at me like, Brent, you're out of your mind. I mean, you're talking about a 4-win team. But I think we feel that it's different than a 4-win team enough to say, like, nobody's surprised if the Jags win the AFC South this year, right? Is the league surprised if they win the AFC South?
I wouldn't think so, but I think Tennessee and Indianapolis fans would be above the rest more than anyone. I just think that they still think we're a little brother, and we are indicative more of our record than we think.
Yeah, maybe. I obviously we're gonna have a different feeling about it here. I just think, based on what the Jags have on their roster, based on what they're committed to, based on their team, based on last year's stuff, I can't imagine people would be too stunned to see. I don't even know the Vegas odds. I don't know when those come out. But on the AFC South, like, it just doesn't feel like, no, automatic Houston's going to win it. If it doesn't feel automatic Houston's going to win it, then anybody's there to get it, in my view. Let's take a time out here. When we come back, a little bit more on the NFL, including we dissect the Daniel Griffiths article you can find on actionsportshacks.com.
Really quick, I think this, I don't know if this is an actual bet, but according to Vegas Insider, Houston's plus 150, the Jags are plus 200, the Colts are plus 275, and the Titans are plus 900.
Well, okay, well, I think that adds up. Now, I'm a little surprised that the odds on Indy are that high. At 275. But they've won games and been flirting with the playoffs, right? 2 consecutive years. So if they can get the quarterback figured out, they've got a lot of other parts that would add up to that. But I think that answers my question. What do you say, plus 150 for Houston, plus 200 for the Jags?
Yep.
Yeah, that's almost... It's getting close to a pick'em.
Right.
So, see what happens. Hey, don't forget to check out the top left corner of your screen, the QR code we have up there. One of them is for mobile services at Bozard. The other one is for the Amelia, coming up on March 6th through the 9th up there in Amelia Island. A bunch of activity going on in this area. Make that part of your stop. Go check out the party up at the Amelia Island Resort. And also Concours d'Elegance. You can check it out, AmeliaConcours.com, but you can simply Just click on that QR code and be a part of the festivities March 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th up there in Amelia Island. Back from Indianapolis here on the show. It was fun to catch up with James Gladstone. You can see the one-on-one, by the way, with James and with Liam Coen on actionsportsjacks.com right now. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jags Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, you can take 10% off any water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579. It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access. Welcome to String Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence. You can bring your party or event to String Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Strings, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
There we go. We got some running back conversation.
Let's do
Get
it.
me into that 21 pony formation. Is that what he said?
That's it.
I like I I have this feel like even when I was talking to Coen yesterday, where he's like, yeah, you know, Brett, like the 21 pony formation. I'm like, no, man, I asked this question telling you I don't know anything about X's and O's. Like, this assumption that we should know, like we know all those kind of things, you know, because we cover it. And maybe there should be an assumption that like I know a lot of that stuff. I've just never got in the weeds on that. And I also say like I didn't play football. So I don't think the language really ever came across, like I didn't know all the language. And most of the time, like I don't really need to know the play call, quite frankly, for what I do. So everybody loves to know that stuff. They can really geek out on it and they know it, and people, and that's cool. Like that's fun stuff. I do that with baseball, honestly. Like there's a language in baseball that I think a lot of people don't know or talk, or some unwritten rules or whatever it might be. And I do that a little bit more on the baseball side of things. By the way, no comment. Yes, I didn't even get my. Some people would say that. I wouldn't understand.
I got it. We had a lot more to get to. The chat loved it, by the way.
Oh, they did get it.
They did love it. Yes, they caught on.
Just threw that one in. I was pretty proud of that moment. No, Doug, listen, Mr. Hugo, Doug was right about not. I told Doug that after the fact, right? After all that went down, and I talked to him a little bit, and I told him, I was like, listen, Doug, I'm not trying to like be a smartass here. I'm coming from a point where it's like, I really want to know like what's supposed to happen. But I actually think that's like most of the fan base.
Right.
You know what I mean? Most of the people that we're talking to.
Maybe not everybody in the chat, but the majority of the fan base doesn't know what 21 pony personnel is.
Exactly. That's it. Listen, I have a lot of respect for the people in the chat and follow along and each and every day, and you guys know stuff, and I couldn't even tell you half the time if you're right or wrong. I don't try to do that. But I also like kind of make fun of the folks and poke fun of the folks, I should say, that sit here in our business and be like, oh yeah, well, I watched the tape and I watched this and claim that they know everything like by looking at a tape, because I don't buy it. Like, I just don't think it. You don't know the rule. I know enough to know this. You don't know the rules or the principles that they have for a certain scheme or play or whatever else. You don't know exactly what was called. So you don't, therefore, know everybody's responsibility. And there's a reason why they call it the ultimate team sport, because it's usually not just on one person why it went wrong. So, like, I know these things in advance. And so from that view, I'm just like, all right, what was supposed to happen? Right? Like, that's really where the question came from. But it did very much come from a very innocent way when it was said to Doug. But that's part of my point, Mr. Hugo, is I think because we cover the team day in, day out and all those things, I think even those guys feel like we do know it. Right? They're like, like I remember Doug when I did have a conversation about him with this, and I thought it was a great learning opportunity for me too. And that's what these things often are. And I remember him saying something like, well, it wasn't specific to this one thing. We were talking more just general, I think, questioning. And I might have said something like, hey, I don't pretend to know the X's and O's. Like, I try to like come more from that broader view of it, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I think in the answer, he said something like, or in the conversation said something like, well, you're around it all the time. You're around us all the time. Well, and the reason where he was coming from, which was, I get it. It's like, well, you're on the plane with us, right? You're in our hotel. You're in production meetings. I remember you on the sideline like 4 months ago, even though you're only just there for 2 games or 3 games for the preseason.
Right.
But that's where he's remembered. You see in the media, like, so in his world, which is, and I respect this, that I'm there all the time. Like I might as well be eating in the lunchroom or in the team meeting room. And I think because of some of that, like my role and what we do, I think he kind of viewed like I was almost a part of their like team broadcast stuff. And even those guys, by the way, aren't in the team meetings. But that was his point. I was like, so you learn a little bit of something like that. You're like, okay, I get that perspective. I get why he would think that. But here's the news alert. I'm not, and I don't pretend to know. So that's where it came from. But anyway, that got us onto this. And this is Daniel Griffith's latest story. And I do think it comes at a good time with all the running back talk. There was a lot of conversation yesterday about the running backs. They like this running back class. We have said this multiple times and probably just stay with it. And I think we're going to be right here. This does not look like the Jags are picking running back at number 5. It does not look like the Jags are picking running back in the 2nd round. I don't think the Jags are picking running back maybe even in the 3rd round. But I do think in those middle rounds somewhere, maybe you can sneak in the 3rd. I doubt it. But the 4th and 5th, I think there's a really good chance we see a running back picked. If for nothing else, it worked so handsomely for the Bucs last year.
Right.
And we know these guys aren't afraid to lean on what worked in previous stops.
Yeah, look at Kyron Williams, look at Rashad White and Bucky Irving. They were all late-round picks.
So I think you're saying we can identify a guy in the middle rounds. So let's start there. But Daniel Griffiths' article is really about the battle between Etienne and Bigsby. And how do we look at this? This is where my interesting part on this topic today for at Dan D. Griffiths, by the way, on Twitter. And you can find the whole article on actionsportsjacks.com, so I won't steal all the thunder. But obviously in this, Daniel is kind of saying either or, right? Or Etienne versus Bigsby. Who's 1, who's 2? Are the Jags going to look at it that way is my point? Or are they going to say, no, we got 2? Do they look at this as a package? Like we feel they've done in Detroit several times, right? The other, we thought this was going to be the case maybe in Tampa until Irving emerged and kind of took over a lot of that, the duties. Do we see this? We see this a little bit in Miami, right? Haven't we seen it down there with Achane and Mostert?
Yep.
So there's 2 ways to spin it. Are you going to be the bell cow, or are you going to be a little bit committee, but less committee, more duo? How do you view it, Hamby?
Well, I mean, I think that the prior coaching staff really didn't know.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and I admitted this was a hard thing to figure out. I do think this is a tough balance, but I don't think they figured it out.
Yeah, so I think ideally you would have more of a... I think what the Jags initially were going for was the Lions, Gibbs, Montgomery, where you can really interchange the two. Yes, they're different, but, I mean, they almost played similar snaps, like almost identical snaps, if I'm not mistaken. So they really split time. However, I think they wanted, so I think that's what they wanted. I think what this new coaching staff is going to do is going to have to really separate them by very specific skills, which we believe that Etienne would be the better pass catcher, that he would be the better run blocker, that Tank is better in between the tackles, right? Obviously, if you look at these stats right here and these numbers, Etienne was very bad at missing tackles. Like, that is your job as the running back, is to, number 1, hit the hole. Number 2, make a guy miss. Make the first guy miss. Right? If you do that, you're gonna last a long time in the NFL, and he wasn't making the first guy miss. He was only breaking that tackle 11% of the time. And you combine that with the Jags run blocking, which we talked about it was another Griffiths graphic that he gave us maybe about a week or 2 ago, is that they were getting less than a yard before contact. That the run blocking was forcing less than, it was 0.9 yards before the running back was hit. So, and if you're only making that guy miss 11% of the time, now, look, these two things go hand in hand. If you get beat on a block, the running back is not responsible necessarily for the defensive lineman, right? He's supposed to beat the safety that's the free hat, the linebacker that's the free hat, whoever the free hat is, that's his job. Obviously, it's icing on the cake, and that's how you really get to the NFL is the ability to make the defensive lineman miss if your guy missed a block. But that's not in the job description necessarily. They're supposed to be taken care of, and then you go get in the open field. Well, Tank did it phenomenally. 27% missed tackle. That was fourth best of all qualifying running backs, according to this specific stat. Well, then that needs to be the guy that you run between the tackles with, time in and time out.
Yeah, listen, a lot of people will tell you down there that Tank's just a better runner in that sense, right? But I think also there's versatility and things that you can do with ETN. This is a big ETN fan right here. That's me. I like ETN. I think there's a lot to tap into with ETN. I think the Jags mismanaged this. I think he even actually lost his confidence a little bit. I think he almost got complacent with the way this thing was heading off the first month of the year because you kind of just accepted the fate that you weren't going to be the bell cow. I think it's a tricky thing to manage because some guys just juice up a little bit more with extra carries. As the game goes along, you get in a rhythm. Hard to get in a rhythm if you're not running the ball. Hard to get in a rhythm if you're sharing the load with other running backs.
That was that whole mic'd up.
So I think those are true things. I think those are real things. But if I'm not mistaken, the one stat that jumps out at me, wasn't it 2 years ago that ETN led the league in missed tackles or avoided tackles or something like that?
I wish I could. I don't have anything on that.
Yeah, I don't either. But I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it's the same metric. There was something like that. I think it was missed tackles. That for a good chunk of the year, I'm pretty sure. Maybe it was when the Jags were hot, right? When they were 8-3. I want to say during the most of that year, he was amongst the best in the league.
Okay, so let's just take that if that's true. Then what would you blame that on? For a year or two being great at missing tackles and making guys miss, and then this year not. Because I know where I would go, is that he hadn't lost a step, but there's a little juice that's lacking. There's a little spring in the step when we make that jump cut that wasn't as explosive, maybe explosive is the right word, this year as it was in years past.
Well, and you don't know this, right? In all fairness to him, he's a guy that does try to play through some things. And so is he banged up? Does that slow him down? So in fairness to him, I think there's some of that because he did miss a little bit and he's had some issues, but he's also played and showed toughness to try to play through some things, but that hurts your ability to do that. I think one of the big knocks, at least this is what I interpret from the old coaching staff of what they were saying. They never flat out said it, at least that I can remember on the record. But I feel like one of their concerns is his vision and hitting the hole. And sometimes has a little bit of doubt about hitting the hole. Or did he see the right hole to hit? Or did he follow the right scheme, the blocking scheme? And so a lot of times we go back and say, oh, the offensive line's not good. And they would say, that one wasn't on the offensive line, is my point. So that's so nuanced. And again, what do they have called versus what happens? How do we know that? We don't. So I think some of this lends together, but I would say ETN, I feel like you have to, you just said a good word, I feel like you have to find a way to get the explosiveness back in ETN. I don't think he's not 32 years old. This isn't a guy like a lost, he's known as a guy that can be explosive. In his NFL career, quite frankly, he's looked way slower and way less explosive than he was in college.
The whole league is
he ain't
faster.
playing in the ACC.
Right.
Right?
But he just did look like he looked like Brian Thomas Jr.
We thought we were getting more home run potential out of ETN, and it just hasn't really happened. Now, some of that, I can remember a run, I want to say it was against Indianapolis, where it looked like he was breaking free and he got chased down. And it was like a 50-something yard run. You're like, man, how did he get chased down? How did he do that? Well, he was coming off a whole year of injury.
I'd love to see what his 40 time is right now compared to when he was at the combine.
Yeah, I don't know. But the other thing is, if you take 22, where he had a good chunk of the workload and his yardage was good, and then we're all wowed by the fact that how well he ran between the tackles. Remember, with ETN. Well, guess what else happens when you run between the tackles? You get beat up. Did some of that getting beat up slow him down? And so where is he health-wise is something I think the Jags have to ask themselves, and ETN has to answer. And then where does this equation go for the Jags? So it's a fascinating one now, how they use this. I don't think it's easy to do it. I think it's easy to do it when things are going well. But when you have the Jags situation, and again, in fairness to the coaching staff, we said this in real time. Well, I did. I don't know if everybody else did, but I did. When you have injuries like a beat-up ETN here or there, when you have some fumble problems with Bigsby, and even Bigsby was, I think, missed the game because of injury, and when you're not playing well, when your offense is not scoring, when you're playing from behind so you can't get the amount of carries that you actually want to have in your game plan, or you can't get 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2 and keep the sticks going, so then you can't get into some of the evolution of your offense that you want to get into as the game goes along in that playbook. Like, these are all real things that happened to the Jags last year that didn't allow for these numbers to maybe benefit the Jags as a whole better. But when you do go side by side, pretty clear that Bigsby had some better metrics. But if you go put ETN's 2022 and 23 against Bigsby, I think you'd see
very similar numbers.
Well, I don't know how similar. Maybe I'll ask Daniel to do that. Like, what do the numbers look like in 22 and 23 for ETN versus what Bigsby just did in year 2, which was in many respects a breakout kind of season for him. It wasn't like true breakout across the league.
If he would have gotten the amount of carries that most bell cow, then it would have been an insane season.
Well, I don't know about it saying it would have been a 1,200-yard season probably, right?
I would take the over.
And now there's one other concern about Bigsby. Like, how do we feel? Do we fully trust Bigsby here in Jacksonville?
Not yet. No, he fumbles the football too much. He hadn't caught it every time. He hadn't picked up every blocking assignment. That's how you can be a complete running back.
So that's a fair question to ask. Like, if you ask yourself that, like, we're talking about two backs that this regime, this current one right now, has said good things about, really raved about. I mean, it's part of the equation. We got two good backs when Liam Coen talks. But I would ask the question to you, and I don't think Liam Coen would answer this one as direct in front of a microphone, but do you trust either one of them? Like, where are you at on that? And I hope I'm not being too disrespectful to them. I just think, I don't think people do. I think they almost have to earn that still. For Bigsby, hang on to the football. It's in spots. And keep in mind, ETN, I think in 2022, had like 5 fumbles in like a 7 or 8 game span, and then didn't fumble at all in 23. Yeah. Right? So he cleaned that up. And then obviously had a huge one against Miami to open the season. But I guess the question when I say trust ETN is, do you trust that he's the guy you drafted 25th overall still? So they have to answer those questions. They have to earn a little bit of that. You go through the chip on the shoulder stuff of what this team, these guys got it. It's a huge, I always think that third year for a running back is a huge year. Said this about James Robinson. But that third year is so massive for Bigsby because that starts to kind of define who you are as a back. And therefore, in a position that is probably underpaid in the NFL, you get that big deal out of that. Not necessarily after year 3, but your reputation carries on whether the team is going to keep you or not, or you move on or whatever else. And you can cash that in usually after your third year if you've now settled into who you are. So it's big for Bigsby. It's huge for ETN because it's a contract year. I mean, what a great place to have these guys with a chip on their shoulder, something to prove, still trying to earn that trust. They got big dollars to earn in their NFL life right now, in my opinion. Both of them, even though contractually Bigsby's definitely going to be around for another season, or can be, after 2025. So interesting article with Daniel Griffiths. By the way, I'm looking at our website right now, and go to actionsportsjacks.com. It's the place to find not only our show and everything we do here on the network, but all the different articles that we have on the left side of this. Right after our lineup, if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see Action Sports Jax headlines. We've got our Liam Coen and James Gladstone interviews attached to that article. one-on-ones from the Combine, the Tank Bigsby article, the route tree article, which Hamby fell in love with yesterday, the fourth down conversions from Daniel Griffiths. We also have more on the running backs with Liam Coen, and also motion and play action. And then it goes all the way back to Jarian Jones and Brian Thomas Jr. in the pass rush, plus efficiency on offense in the NFL. Daniel Griffith's doing some good work for us. And you can find it on actionsportsjacks.com. Hey, you brought this up. There you go. Nice job. Man, you're getting good at that. Quick trigger. Pistol Pete over there. Nice work, Hamby.
Appreciate it.
I was going to go with a couple other things, try to play off Hamby, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't say that. So I decided not to. That's why I was checking myself.
Thank you.
I don't know. Could have been good, but when in doubt, don't go. That's like yellow light and stealing bases, folks. When in doubt, don't go. You're either out or you crash, or you get a ticket.
When's the last time you got a ticket?
Don't do this to me.
It's been a while. Okay, never mind. Moving on.
By the way, do people actually get pulled over for going through yellow lights? That doesn't really happen, right? That's not really. Is that not really a violation? But a lot of those things turn to red.
They do. Hey, what do you think about the Tush Push narrative?
Yeah, good one. You don't want to talk yellow lights, huh?
Nope.
Started the show with parking cars.
I did receive a text of who that believe someone texted. Liv texted me who she believes that car belongs to.
I don't want to know.
I don't think you. Yeah.
I don't want to know.
I wasn't planning on it. This was 2 hours ago, so
I don't want to know in part because I don't want to lessen up. If I see it again, I'm hammering them again tomorrow or next week, and I don't want to stop.
Good.
Like, I just got to get it off my chest. So, hey, okay, I got a couple things before we get out of here at 1 o'clock. You just said, what about the Tush Push?
Yeah.
Tush Push is a big deal. So, I've seen both sides of it, and this is like the ongoing debate. Is it really a football play? Is it a football play that can be stopped? Is it a play that you should really have a problem with if you can't stop it? Right? So, those are kind of like the arguments. I actually come to the camp of I don't really mind the Tush Push. Like it is, if you can execute it, execute it. I do think it's interesting that they're taking advantage of a rule that did not exist before. You know, because it was illegal to push from behind,
right?
And then they morphed that, and then this kind of came out of it.
Well, before you get to that, what do you think of the Packers being the ones who proposed it?
Yeah, I think we see that a lot, the teams that are impacted, right? They're playing in that division. Could it be because here's the question I actually have. I'm going to flip that question. I thought about this today when reading something else about Tush Push. And this might be the best answer to it. Do you think the Eagles are Super Bowl champs without the Tush Push?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm not. It's not a definite yes. To me, I know they didn't really use it a lot in the Super Bowl, but I think it's about more than that. I think it's about how they got there, and just having that in your back pocket allows you to play the game entirely different. Every single game, as long as you know that that's in your back pocket, the way that you operate offense is different. So, I mean, would they have beat the Commanders without it? Yes. You know, would they have beat the Chiefs without it? Absolutely. But they're not the same team without it.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is kind of true. It feels like throughout the course of the year, do they get in the position they get in without it? There's an aura around that play, right? If they get 9 yards, they're getting a first down.
If they get 7 on first down, they're going to automatically get one.
So does it change things? And so Mr. Hugo says, I don't think they get to the Super Bowl without it. And I think I don't know the answer to this. I just thought about it today, and I was like, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
And so
I want to hear what Austen thinks about that.
So here's the thing. What's the follow-up to that? If you answer yes or no, does that change the way you feel about the Tush Push?
No.
Because if you answer, no, I don't think they would have got to the Super Bowl without the tush push, well, then it's like a play in their playbook that they've mastered.
Right.
And they're doing it better than anybody else. It's not like the play is just allowed in Philadelphia. They built their roster around with the idea that they can do a play like this, as physical as they are, and their quarterback's so big. If you answer, yeah, I think they would have won anyway, then it's like, okay, well, then the play isn't that impactful. It's not why they won.
Right.
Which, again, it's not why they won the Super Bowl, but how much of the recipe is it that they won the Super Bowl because of that? Anyway, I thought that part's interesting. I did think about this. I'm not going to get into it today, but I think it's something we could kind of hang on maybe for Thursday, Friday. Hamby, is the Green Bay, because this is where you were going with this, Green Bay says, hey, abolish it, right, or get it out of here.
Right.
And is there a play that the Jaguars can't cover? Is there something that happens every year in Jacksonville that you would say, like, can we go to the rules committee and make sure this isn't allowed in the NFL?
Goal line, 3rd and 3. They play action, tight end slip. He's open every time, automatic touchdown. Anything with a tight end. It could even be at midfield. Tight end leak, tight end wheel. It's there.
The Jags would like to eliminate the tight end from the game. We have proposed a rule to the NFL that teams cannot play with the tight end.
Or, no, that anybody attached to the line of scrimmage cannot catch a pass.
I don't know if that would work well since your guy caught 114 of them.
But if he lines up in the slot, he can line up in the slot. If his hand is in the dirt, then he can't catch a pass.
All right, let's go. Maybe we'll have more of that fun. We are going to move the envelope game to tomorrow. Sorry, guys, we're going to run out of time. And I want to get to this too. I wanted to get a little bit more on the Doug stuff because just real quick, if you're just jumping in, hanging out with us, the Doug stuff, like the NFLPA reports came out, and basically it was like lack of time efficiency, lack of this and that for Doug. You got to see from the players, like. That's a pretty loud thing. Like, we kind of passed over it an hour ago.
Just let me point out, too, that the C is bad for the grade because you're going to give a lot of credit to your coach as long as he's still the coach. So that was 31st of 32.
31st. Like, I think we need to get into a little bit more of that tomorrow as I think about it more. It's not just a passing story. Obviously, it's an old story now, so maybe it doesn't matter. One last thing. Jags and Jair Alexander.
Interesting.
So I just saw somebody mention, sorry, I didn't see who it was, mentioned that there's a report out there, a Rappaport or somebody linked the two. The story is, anyway, Jair Alexander's on the trade block, or could be. He can seek a trade. Campanile, everything else, is this... I mean, Jair Alexander do much for you?
I mean, it all comes down to health, Brent. All comes down to health. He's proven that when he's healthy, he's a top 5 corner.
How old is he now?
Ooh.
Look that up before we go.
I'm going to guess 28.
Oh, so he's in the prime. That's interesting. It's a chance. I mean, you don't like risk. Listen.
Let's turn 28. Let's go.
That's a good age. The problem is injuries. You get concerned about that. And I think that's a fair concern, but it's certainly something to explore and look into for the Jags. And I like it. You could solidify that spot and then move on somewhere else in the draft, like Mason Graham was a story at the Combine today. All right, hey, we've got Cup Date coming up, a week with us right after that. And then 2 o'clock, it's no gate fees. We'll be right back at it talking baseball, softball. ActionSportsJax.com, a ton of Jags content, including our one-on-one interviews with Coen and Gladstone. Have a good day, everybody.
The Tom Bush family of dealerships, they've been serving customers in the Jacksonville area for 55 years. They've been your go-to spot to get and stay on the road since 1970, and that's still the case here in 2025 and beyond, even if the cars have changed just a little bit.
Check out the sleek line of vehicles of the future. That's right, electric vehicles. Tom Bush offers a full lineup of reliable electric cars with state-of-the-art service facilities. Like the new VinFast, Tom Bush is among the first dealers in the entire country to offer the VinFast, and let me tell you, this thing is sweet. The good folks at Tom Bush have all the info on charging, service, tax credits, and everything you need to keep your EV running smoothly. BMW, Mazda, Volkswagen, Mini, and the newly offered VinFast. There's something for everyone at the Tom Bush family of dealerships. Ready to join the Tom Bush family? Stop by the showroom or check out the inventory online at tombush.com.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
For 60 years, the Bob Hayes Invitational Track Meet has provided competitive events, and we're also happy to provide scholarship opportunities too. Join us for the annual Hall of Fame Gala March 13th at the Potter's House and at the James Day Middle School Meet at UNF March 14th.
There they go.
And don't forget the annual Bob Hayes Track and Field Meet at UNF Saturday, March 15th. Get tickets and info at bhitm22.org. For vendors and partnerships, call 904-222-1075.
I'm ready to show my hand, ready to take a stand, wait on a sign above, and I am ready, ready, 'cause I just live for the game, 'cause I just live for the game, 'cause I just live for the game.
What is the Amelia, if you don't know?
Do you feel it coming? The rumble in your chest, the roar of the crowd. It's an experience you won't forget. The Emily Motor Oil NHLA Gator Nationals are back March 6th through 9th at Gainesville Raceway. It's where anticipation meets asphalt, where you can meet your heroes face to face and feel like a part of the action. Plus, parking and kids under 12 are free with general admission. The Emily Motor Oil NHLA Gator Nationals, March 6th through 9th. Get your tickets today.
Just be yourself. Maybe we're talking about being a dad or a mom, a first responder or a teacher. Maybe it's a sports fan. We love those. We're talking about anyone in the Jacksonville community. At Community First Credit Union, just be yourself means being real. When you partner with Community First, it's straightforward. They're people connecting with you so you can be yourself. I've been coming here to Community First for years. This is the Bartram branch, the one I usually come to. And they have mortgage loans, personal loans, and auto loans. And I'm almost done paying off that truck loan. Just a few more months. Good rates, easy online banking, and friendly customer service when I have a question. It's easy to be myself with Community First. They live up to the slogan in their name. Community First has partnerships in the Jacksonville community with the Iceman, the Florida Theater, the Jacksonville Zoo, and many more. Visit one of the Jacksonville branches or find out all you can do with Community First Credit Union at communityfirstfl.org.